Hey, we have a saying here, guys. The early bird catches the worm, and Andrew has caught the worm, and so has the Rummeister, also known as Steve Andersen. How are you, my friend?
Good. Would it be the other way around? Steve Andersen, otherwise known as the Rummeister? Maybe not. Maybe not here. Yeah. It's
Well,
just so everybody knows. Big time raining here on the southern tip of Vancouver Island, BC, Canada today. And it looks like it's slowed up a little bit, the rain, but it's supposed to be nice this weekend. So hopefully Saturday, Sunday, it'll get nicer out here. Yeah.
well, we have a long weekend here in New Zealand. So a long weekend is a public holiday, a paid holiday on Monday, which is called Labor Day. So
Oh, wow.
we have that day off. So we're getting into our summer here, and yeah, it's a nice day. It's my pleasure, my friend, to have you on board. Every blues show worth its salt has to have a Van Halen expert, and our show is really, really lucky because we've got not only one Van Halen expert joining us this evening. We're going to have Brad popping in later on, and we're going to have Simon Williams, my co-host from the British Blues show that we do weekly, is going to jump on board and participate in the chat. So we're certainly looking forward to that. And if there's anybody in the chat that's got any questions or any opinions on things that have been happening in relation to Eddie Van Halen or any other items, feel free to pass them on. We'll get to them. But this is basically a show about Eddie, our thoughts, a continuation of a show that I did a couple of weeks ago with Steve. And I suppose, just our little community, Steve, just getting together and hanging about and sharing what Eddie Van Halen meant to us. So I just want to get things kicked off with you, Steve. It was only a couple of days ago when I actually kind of thought about what Eddie Van Halen meant, and sometimes it takes a while for things to sort of click into place. And everybody talks about the fact that Jimi Hendrix was the guitarist for a generation, and I certainly understand that. But it took a while for me, Steve, to understand that actually Eddie Van Halen is the guitarist of my generation.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I was born in 71, so I would assume Jimi Hendrix passed in 70, the year before. He did a lot of music in a short period of time, though, Jimi Hendrix. So certainly for, I don't know, the psychedelic era of the sort of mid to late 60s, Jimi Hendrix blew the doors out of everybody's mind, and he kind of did everything. He was playing the bluesy stuff and singing, and he was a great performer, and and then they'd rip your head off with these solos. And so yeah, he's very like encompassing is the word I'd say for Jimi Hendrix, because he sort of did it all. And I'm always digging back and listening to his music and any B-sides I can find. And yeah, he's one of those guys. Just I call him like an alien, and that's certainly what happens for most people when Eddie Van Halen, the fans of Eddie Van Halen, that's what happened to them is. And for me, I'd say that too. And we're going to get into it with our theme tonight, but just moments when he's playing, when it's just like, it's sort of off the rails. And I mentioned it before in another show, like he's not just playing like straight picking, strumming and picking and, like Eric Clapton or Keith Richards and these guys. All of a sudden, it's the fingers tapping and the dive bombing and just the playing. And I'm going to talk about some of that stuff where, like, it really was alien when I first got into it. The Eddie Van Halen stuff. It was it was a new beginning, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I look, I agree with you, and I think this is something that we're obviously going to continue talking about. I just want to do a quick shout out, Steve. We've got Sonia, who's a very, very good friend of our channel. She's our moderator, so she'll be looking after the chat with us. We've got Mr. Rock, who's new to the channel, so thank you for joining Steve and I. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. So we're streaming live on the YouTube channel, and we're streaming live on the Van Halen with Sammy Hagar Facebook group, and we're streaming on the All Things Eric Clapton group. And what is the relationship between Eddie Van Halen and Eric Clapton? Well, there's a strong relationship there, because the biggest influence on Van Halen when he was growing up was, if you guys don't already know it, Eric Clapton. So straight away, our British Electric Blues show has a strong connection with Eddie. And here he is. You guys get your hands together, because we're going to add Mr. Brad Cook all the way from Melbourne, Australia, into the chat. Hey, here he is. Hey, buddy.
Hey mate, how are you?
Yeah, good to see you, my friend.
Welcome.
You've met Steve before.
Yeah, yes. How are you, Steve?
We tried.
We tried before, yeah. We got better connection now.
What was the update, Brad? What did you do to fix the glitch?
Let's just say I had a really a tough time with my internet provider, but we're back on track now. So yeah, got him in a headlock actually.
Yeah. And we have Alan Garber in the house.
Dr. Alan Garber.
Yes, the doctor. Yeah.
So am I actually late, guys, or early, or what? What's the go?
Oh, we were just hanging out, and we went live like 5 minutes ago.
Okay. Yeah. No. So we're just greedy. We're just greedy, Brad. We just thought we'd jump on and just steal the limelight while we could.
Why not?
Oh, look, Steve's always early, so we just thought we'd go live, and when you and Simon get yourselves sorted, you can always jump in. So before we start, talking a little bit about the subject of tonight's show, we'll just do a shout out to Sonia again. Alan Garber, who we've already mentioned, and Mr. Rock. So if you guys would like to subscribe to our channel and help grow our channel, if you already haven't, if you think that what we're going to say this evening is worth anything or entertaining or informative, please share our channel. I was mentioning before you jumped on, Brad, that every blues show must have a Van Halen expert. Well, our show is lucky because we've got two Van Halen experts on the show this evening, yourself and Steve Andersen. So it's basically your guys' show. I'm just sitting back in the back seat. I've got a couple of questions to ask, but basically I'm going to let you guys go for it.
Well, I want to learn as much as I can from Steve, so let's go.
Brad, I might have asked this last time. Do you have like a number one guitar that you play that's near you right now?
Actually, I don't have it in the studio here at the moment because I can go and get it, no problem. I was just in another room. I was just sort of re-stringing and reorganizing things. Yeah, but I do have a 1960 reissue Les Paul that I predominantly use for most of my recordings and playing live. So it's just got that really that honky sort of mid-range thing that I go for with the bigger tone with the humbuckers and
right.
Yeah.
So I know Fender Guru Andrew had asked about like a top 10 list, like a Van Halen top 10 list. Is that something we want to do right now, or are we waiting for Simon? Or
that was probably one of the hardest things I've had to do, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, I went like me. I had list after list. I had it. I did it in different ways, and then it wasn't just the Van Halen studio stuff, because my world, like I was born in '71, and the whole MTV era and DVDs and like a lot of that stuff like is half of it as well, or even more actually than just the studio stuff. So I do have my top 10 list. I don't know what you guys did for that.
Look,
Yeah.
look. I think what we need to do is probably get things kicked off with the top 10 list, because Simon won't mind me mentioning this. You know, he mentioned on the previous show that we did that he's not a Van Halen expert, so he's going to jump on and hang out. So you know, we're the experts. if you, and I mean that modestly. We're the fans. Let's get things kicked off with a top 10 list, and why you think it's in your top 10. I'm into it. Let's go.
Yeah, so I guess what I was going to ask Brad was, Brad, when would you say you became an actual fan of Van Halen? What year would that have been?
Early 90s when I started playing guitar. So,
oh, wow.
So yeah, it was my first Van Halen record was 5150, and I went backwards from there. I got 1984, and basically I got Mean Streets after that. Fair Warning. I got Fair Warning after that. Then I got Van Halen 1 and 2 on CD, and then obviously the FUCK album came out, and that just floored me. So I didn't have OU8 1 and 2 until later. I got that a bit later down the track, to be honest with you.
Right. And so I'm sort of the same as you. I didn't sort of enter this until the 5150 tour was happening. Yep. And then same as you, I used to have the cassettes, and then I went back and I had them lined up on a shelf. Okay, Van Halen 1, Van Halen 2, all the way up. And then Van Halen, the 5150 tour live clips that I'd see were on TV all the time. So I'd have a VHS tape, like a mixtape. I'd hit record and pause, and then I'd wait until something was going to come on, and okay, hit the pause that was recording, and then pause again. So I had these huge, I had a whole bunch of tapes of just Van Halen stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here in Australia we had MTV, and that was like my introduction to Van Halen was pretty much like Dreams by Van Halen. It was probably one of the first songs. Jump, obviously, was on MTV all the time. And then when Dreams came out, obviously, I went backwards from there. So, it was around that 91, 92 when I started gravitating to the guitar. And you know, obviously, I got a 5150 head when they were released and whatnot. And I got into that whole thing of trying to chase that sound, and I realized that I was never going to actually get it, because it's probably a lot more to do with the hands than the gear. I mean, the gear makes a difference, but yeah.
Do you still have that head?
No, I actually sold it on tour. Yeah, I sold it when I was touring, just because I managed to track down a Marshall head that I was after, which I've still got today. So yeah. It's one of those things, it's sort of trade-off gear to buy gear, but yeah.
Right. So guys, do we want to do what our number 10 is and then build up to number 1, or do we want to go the other way, or as far as your Van Halen tracks go?
I'm happy to count down. Doing a countdown's always a good thing.
Right. So, Andrew, maybe as the host, you should go first. What's your number 10?
My number 10 is, hold on, gentlemen. My number 10 song is Girl Gone Bad.
Wow, okay. Why that song, Andrew?
Okay. I just loved that song on this album when it came out. We had the single Jump that was thrashed on the radio. We didn't have MTV here, Brad and Steve, so we didn't get the circulation of the videos. We had a countdown program that would show, a couple of videos, but it took a while for Van Halen to come through. And then they started playing Jump eventually, and Panama. That, clearly are the most radio friendly songs of the Van Halen with David Lee Roth catalog. But I had to pick a song off 1984 that wasn't the standout songs, and but it isn't a deep cut. Yeah, so I just love the fact that you can hear the guitar without a lot of distortion on that song, especially on that number. So yeah, that's my number 10.
Is that the only song off of 1984 that's on your list?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No.
So 1984 doesn't make an appearance on my list. But the song for me, like I always sort of stand back and look at the big picture. Okay, what's the song for me off that record? And for me, like Drop Dead Legs would probably be the song that I would pick. But it's not in my top 10. Yeah. Yeah. Brad, do you have a list you're working off of?
Yeah, got my list here.
Okay. Oh, he's got a book.
He's done his own work.
Yeah, this was a really hard one to do because it's going to change tomorrow. That's
I understand that. I understand.
My list changes regularly, so I guess my number 10 would have been from the Sammy era, probably Right Now. I just really like that the big powerful sort of vibe of that song and the message of that as well. But obviously highlighting Eddie's piano playing and stuff like that as well. I love that whole thing of where they incorporated piano and everything in their sound as well. So obviously that one really resonates with me. Just the message as well. I think it's still relevant today, but I find that's a big ass song, and it really needed to be in my top 10. Just that FUCK album was probably a game changer for me when it came to Van Halen. It made me just go and get everything I can get my hands on Van Halen wise. Yeah,
that's that happens to most of us.
Yeah, and like the MTV thing, like I used to sit, same thing, and record. Like they had this MTV special on in 3 or 4 sections on, that around that period of For Uncarnal Knowledge, the FUCK album. Sorry, yeah, when that came out, they did a big special on MTV about that, and obviously the Sammy era. So I pretty much spent my fingers on the pause room, and record buttons the whole time, just getting that. So, but that's probably one of the big moments on Van Halen for me. That song, I love it.
Right. Does another song off of that album make the rest of your top 10 at all?
Yes.
Okay. I won't say much. So so my number 10. So for me, this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, it's not. So for me, the musical spring of that whole band is Eddie Van Halen, right? So for me, this list is anything Eddie Van Halen, as far as anything I've seen, not just what's on the albums, because a lot of the stuff I've seen, because I'm part of the MTV generation and DVDs and VHS, and half of it is stuff that I've seen like on the screen. So for me, one of my favorite songs, and I play it all the time, every time I pick up a guitar, I got lots of memorabilia here, so I'm going to show you guys something.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all. While he's doing that, I'm just going to do a quick shout out to Mark, Ellen, thank you for joining us, and to Arvin.
Guys, so around 1985, I think, what does it say here? Anyway, this movie came out. So this is called The Wildlife. Mm-hmm. And so there was a soundtrack to this. And on the soundtrack, there's a song called Donut City that Eddie Van Halen did the score of. But there's also 11 other tracks. When you actually watch the movie, you can hear Eddie Van Halen all over this thing. Like, there's 12 different pieces of music that are on this. But when the actual vinyl or CD of The Wildlife came out, there was only the one song called Donut City that was released. And this here, this is The Wildlife This is called Unreleased Movie Score and Extras. There's actually a song called Ripley that is, I think it ended up being Blood and Fire on the album with David Lee Roth, the most recent one, A Different Kind of Truth. But it's called Ripley on here. So this is just, basically, this is just Eddie on guitar or keyboards. There's no singing on any of these tracks. But the song Ripley, I don't know, like I'm going to say it every time, but it's the goosebump thing. Like if I get the goosebumps and the hair on my arm stands up, I don't know what it is. Like that's like any music you hear. It either does it for you or not. But off of this, the song is called Ripley, and you can look it up on YouTube. That'd be,
Yep.
That was my number 10. It had to be on my list because it's a song. Every time I pick up a guitar, I basically rip into that song at some point. Yeah.
So do you want to sort of, is this a good opportunity then, Steve, for you to mention that connection with another Van Halen album? Is this a good time to talk about that? Because, you know, A Different Kind of Truth, there were a couple of songs. Yeah. Is it worth talking about that now, do you think?
Yeah, no, for sure. So that's the problem I have is I know this song from the movie when I saw it in like the 80s and I loved it. And I love the fact that nobody else knew what it was. Like that's what I'm getting to with all stuff you've seen on video or B-sides and all this. Like this is the stuff that Wolfgang and Alex Van Halen and their current manager, they got to go through the vaults and like officially release this stuff because there's lots of. Sorry?
Can't wait for it.
Yeah, well, this is one part of it, like the wildlife stuff. They should just have a release of just that stuff, or they might do like a whole vault of stuff as a one-shot thing, like 150 different tracks or something. But for me, like these 12 tracks, like they're almost more important to me than any of the studio releases. That's because I play this CD in my car like all the time. I have like 5 CDs I keep in my car, and that's one of them. Like it's always in my car. I brought it out to show you guys on this show.
Fantastic.
So, yeah. Oh yeah, we're here to knock people's socks off. Okay. Yeah. So what it is. The Ripley song, like it meant so much to me, and the goosebump factor every time I hear it. And then all of a sudden, they took that track and a few others to do A Different Kind of Truth, and it destroyed it for me a little bit because I'm so used to just hearing the instrumental part and hearing all of it, and all of a sudden there was lyrics, and it sort of like some of the parts weren't as pronounced as they were when I hear just the song Ripley by itself. So I was a little bit slightly disappointed because I'm just going to the people that bought that record. Oh my God, if they could just hear Ripley by itself. So that's just a personal thing because I've been listening to this thing for 30 years, right? Yeah.
Well, so the good thing about that, Steve, if people want to check that out though, all those songs are on YouTube. They've been uploaded on YouTube. So if you haven't taken note of what Steve has just said, Ripley, if you search Ripley and Eddie Van Halen and the wildlife, you'll find it.
Yeah. So for years, this has been going on where people would ask Eddie Van Halen, "Oh, why don't you do a solo album?" And I'm just sitting in the back of my mind all the time going, he already has. This is it. Because there's some amazing songs on this that people have never heard. And then he'd always say, I have my brother, I got Michael Anthony, and we got a singer. Like, we're fine. He doesn't need to do a solo thing. But I'm going, no, the wildlife thing, like it's never mentioned. And it drives me crazy that it's never mentioned. Because but I'm so happy that like here I am talking about it and I get the goosebumps, and so many people don't even know haven't heard this stuff. Yeah. Anyway, that's my number.
So you know, we're going to go off on tangents here, but I've got some questions, Steve, for you, Steve and Brad, as they come to my mind. So it's interesting that you spoke about the vault and what's in Eddie's vaults, because there's been some videos dropped recently where we've been able to get an idea of how many tapes Eddie has in 5150. And there's a lot. There's one that was filmed, I think, in 1999 or something like that, and there's just a mountain of tapes. When we all knew that, didn't we? We all had an idea that that was the case. So what do you think? What do you think Wolf is going to release? You know, is he going to remaster some of this stuff? Is he going to go in there and redo something with other musicians, or will he go out there and get that instrumental stuff, Steve, that you've just talking about there? And there'll be mountains of that. There's got to be like mountains of him playing keyboards and then doing tracks on top of that.
Yeah, so I guess for me as a listener, because I like hearing him like this wildlife stuff where there's not a singer like covering the sounds of what he's doing, whether it's keyboards or guitar, and it might come out in a that way where it's like the instrumental stuff, and then maybe I can't see them going and re-recording stuff. Maybe it won't be on a drum track, but maybe Alex would go in and actually play drums to this stuff. It could be like in every couple of years they bring out something that could be interesting. Because I guess I think of like the Gene Simmons Vault that came out. There was like 150 tracks, and it was all in one shot, and that's it. But I think it could come out as volumes in certain years. That if it's all dated, they might go, okay, here's 20 tracks from 1978 to 1981. Okay, great. And then we get to absorb that, and then a couple of years later, here's 1982 to 1984. Like, who knows what they're going to do? But for me, I don't want them to necessarily like re-record stuff for anything, or I think it needs. I mean, you don't even know how it's recorded on that. It could be just Eddie playing straight without any rhythm track at all. So then maybe you'd want to have Alex like play drums to the stuff and Wolfgang play bass to it. So I could see that too, right? What do you think? What do you guys think?
I reckon they'll probably like remaster they'll re-release probably the albums with bonus material maybe from the era. That would be sort of where a lot of bands do that already. Yeah. But maybe box set, they might do some sort of box set. But I mean, look, we don't really know for sure, do we? I mean, there's so much material there, and you got to think around that time when they were released that greatest hits with human beings on it and Me Wise Magic and all that. Even from that period onwards, the amount of material that's probably been recorded since then that didn't get released, maybe. I don't know whether there was any like vocals done with Sammy or David on any extra tracks, but I believe there would have been mountains of music that Eddie and his brother had recorded at that time frame. So,
right.
I mean, look, it really just comes down to, what I guess they'll go through. We don't know. Eddie could have been going through and categorizing everything with Wolf leading up to his passing.
Good point.
We don't know.
Good point.
He could have been doing that as a succession type plan so that he knew what was going to be released. Maybe there's things he didn't want people to hear. We don't know. It's too hard to say. But
I like what you said about the they could do the first album 1978 and do like a box set, sort of like Metallica did.
Yeah.
And you could get here's a copy of the vinyl, here's a CD, here's maybe a live concert on vinyl from 1978, maybe a DVD, anything they have out there. And then what you just said is like have a second vinyl or something, or a CD with like stuff that no one's heard before.
I think Andrew and I spoke about this on the first the day that Eddie passed, and we had we did this celebration of Eddie. We spoke about it with Prince, for example. They've re-released I've forgotten which album it is now. and they re-released it as a box set with about 10 albums worth of material from that period. There's a live CD, there's all these extra sign of the times, sorry. So basically, in that we don't know, they could re-release like 1984. We don't know when they recorded, say, 1984. There might have been a handful of tracks that they didn't actually put on the album that might be ready to be mixed and mastered and put out.
Yeah, because for me,
the recording artist, you never know. They shelve songs that they don't put on the album and they move forward from there. So they might not go backwards and grab them and readdress them. They just move forward from there. So, we don't know. I mean, I reckon Eddie would have probably, in the last maybe 5 years or so of his life, probably been going through all those tapes, I reckon.
Yeah, but I like the box set idea. And if they do it that way, I'd want them to do it right. Okay, like here's the first album, and then like a couple of years later, here's the second album. So like every couple of years, you sort of know what's coming out. Because I've seen bands and they're just throwing stuff out at random, and you don't even know what's going to be coming out next. And we'll see what happens.
It's a tough one to really know. I mean, there's that much material though, so surely they've gone through a lot of that early stuff and handpicked out a lot of the stuff that's worth putting out. I'd say Eddie would have done that already,
Yeah.
And would be a big charge of that. So.
Yeah. So Andrew, do you have a number 9 on your list?
Okay, guys. So I'm kind of gonna cheat here.
All right.
I'm gonna kind of cheat, but you guys will let me get away with this one because it's probably 2 songs. It's Intruder and Pretty Woman, and I'll tell you the reason why I love Intruder and Pretty Woman, because and I always consider it one song. I've always have on that album. You've got that wonderful weird instrumental or intro going on. And I remember being a young guy, because I'm a bit older than you guys, so just bear with me. I'm a few years older than you guys. So when that album came out, Diver Down, that was a big deal for a lot of us, and we were trying to work out what the heck was going on with that intro. Clearly there was some kind of guitar stuff going on, but we were just fascinated by it. And then it just kicks into, and this is one of the great things that Van Halen do. They did it with Van Halen 1 with Eruption, and they kick off with You Really Got Me. They did the same thing with Intruder. They kicked off with Pretty Woman, and once I heard that, boom, boom, oh, and even now, Steve, you talk about goosebumps. I'm getting, I just, to me, that's just David Lee Roth at just about his best too. I love it.
I'm glad you mentioned the Intruder thing, because I never even thought of it when I was making my list for the last week. So I'm glad you covered that, because I love that one too, for sure. Yeah.
So I get a pass. That's one. I'm not cheating.
Thanks.
Brad, what's yours?
All right. This, like I said, this is a really hard list to do. I put Girl Gone Bad as number 9. I just love the 1984 album, and that song in particular. I just love the way it comes in, the timing on the drums, the riff, and it's just got a lot of swagger to it. And it was pretty much for me what Van Halen, what inspired me to listen to Van Halen, that swagger that they had, that a lot of bands in that era didn't have. They continued on like that real off. That song in particular has got that really off-timing sort of vibe to it. And then when the riff kicks in, it's just, I don't know, and the guitar sounds great. It's just something about that song that resonates with me. And Eddie's playing on it's phenomenal. His solo on it is phenomenal. So That song in particular, and that's one of my favourite David Lee Roth moments on that song as well. So,
Right.
yeah.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I just ask you? I've got a question, guys. So it's interesting you mentioned swagger, because I'm making a connection in my mind now between the Rolling Stones, where they talk about the swagger, the beat, the swing that Simon likes to describe, that Keith has with Charlie Watts, and the beat and the swing is actually led by Keith's rhythm guitar playing. So in Van Halen, what's the relationship between the two brothers? Who sets the beat? Do you guys, do you have an opinion on that? Is it Eddie or Alex? In that traditional drumming sense.
I guess from my perspective, the musical spring in the band is Eddie. So he's playing the riffs, and whatever turns it makes, because when Alex kicks in, that's certainly possible. It's not a thing that I ever read about a lot, though. It always seemed to be Eddie's coming up with the riffs, and then the vocals are the guys are working on the vocals, whoever's singing in the band. That's an interesting question, and something that's never really talked about is, has there been a Van Halen song? I know there was the song like Pleasure Dome off of For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. I mean, it's an instrument. It was kind of like the beginning part instrumentally. That was kind of like considered an Alex song at the time. I remember that when For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge came out. I remember Sammy Hagar said it in an interview once, where they sort of considered that song Alex's song. But I as far as that goes, I never read about that a lot, that a certain song took a turn when Alex kicked in on the drums. But yeah.
I reckon it just would have been the beat Alex come in with on that riff.
Yeah.
You would have just heard that beat and just went, that's what. And Ed would have just been, yeah, that's perfect, because they thought very much along the same lines, I think. So
yeah.
What's yours? What's yours, Steve?
Brad, does another song on 1984 come up on your list?
Hang on. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, Andrew, I missed that with you. I'm going to ask that every time because I'm really interested in this. Did anything else? Did anything else on Diver Down appear on your list, Andrew?
No.
Okay. So that's your Diver Down track, right?
Yes.
Okay. More memorabilia. Hold on.
Okay. No problem. While Steve's doing that, we're going to do a quick shout out. Kevin, Arvin, good to see you. Nelson, thank you for joining us. Johnny Bean, thank you for joining us. And please hit the subscribe button and help grow our channel so that we'll always be here to hang out with you guys. Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess this is kind of a guitar player thing. Like for me, like Brad was saying, like for me it was like when 5150 tour was happening, that's when I got into it. And then you dig back through the records, and just guitar playing wise, like Fair Warning holds a lot of weight with me. Like I love every song, but for whatever reason, the one song that stands out for me is Mean Street. I mean, the intro's great and everything, but it's just the whole groove of that song. And I don't know what you guys, there's not really a song like that I heard earlier in the catalog. There's just something about it. I can't the word dark when they talk about this album. It's interesting because it's kind of like a dark brown cover, and everyone, it's a dark album. It's just sometimes music does that. Like when you think of Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy, everybody thinks like it's the orange album because the cover of the album's orange. But for me, I really love the song Mean Street. Again, like Ripley, Mean Street, the main riff in that, I always play that when I pick up a guitar pretty much, warming up or whatever. And I really love the art on this. This is a piece of art that Alex picked for this cover. The piece of art is called The Maze. I think his name was I think it's Robert Kurlek or something like that. But I love this guy here. He's just giving it to this guy on the ground in the face. I don't know. I always focus on that when I look on this album cover. I always look at this guy's giving it to this kid on the ground. Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. This guy here leaning up against the wall. Yeah, I was always fascinated by this album cover. Here's the back. Yeah, the maze. This is just a small piece of this huge piece of art. It's really interesting if you see the artwork on this one. Yeah, the one I also love Hear About It Later, that song. But if I'm gonna pick one, it'd be Main Street. So that's my number 9 pick, and nothing else from this album appears in the rest of my list.
Yeah, and look, I'm glad you mentioned the relationship between songs and albums, Steve, because I think this is quite an interesting little thing that you've thrown in there, because I'm going by songs. Okay, so this is I picked by songs, not by albums, and it's going to be pretty interesting because there's going to be an album that I really love, and I probably haven't picked a song from it. So maybe.
And Brad will be the same. I mean, I love all the music in general, no problem. Yeah. But I'm talking about the ones that do give me the extra goosebumps. I switched positions here. I'm on the bottom of the screen now.
Yeah. Well, I apologise. It was my slip. I slipped my mouse. I went to drop you into the chat after presenting you, and I removed you accidentally. So please forgive me for the slip of the mouse. But look. One of the hardest things I've ever had to do was think about this list, because lists are great, aren't they? Because they give you something to talk about, something to disagree with, something to argue about. Something to berate someone over the head, saying, how can you be a fan and you haven't picked that song? And
I see it on YouTube all the time, and I just have to put the seatbelt on. I'm not going to do anything, because people will go, oh, this is the greatest song by this band, and I'm going, that's not my favorite song. How can you say that that's the greatest song? It's a personal thing. This is your favorite. That's great, but don't say this is the best song, because it's up to interpretation.
Hey, Warren and Nelson, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys hanging out. So is there 81? Has anyone got any general comments about Mean Streets before we go on to the next song? Is there anything that you want to mention about that album, Brad? Sorry, Fair Warning.
I got like stuff off Fair Warning towards the top of my list, so I don't want to talk too much about it.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right then. Okay, all right.
Yeah. It's probably one of my all-time favourite records from Van Halen.
Okay.
So.
All right. Okay. All right. We'll wait then. Here's me as usual. Always wanting to get everything done straight away. Okay. So what's your next song then, Brad? And then I'll go, and then Steve will go.
My number 8.
Yeah.
My number 8. Sorry, I'm just looking at my list. I don't know why I put that round that way. My number 8 was Judgment Day.
Cool.
Because when I actually heard that song, obviously I'd heard Pound Cake off MTV, and that I rushed out and bought the FUCK album for that reason. And then obviously when Judgment Day came on, it just floored me. I just loved it. I loved Eddie's playing on it, the beat, and Sammy's vocal on it was outstanding. But I just loved that whole record. It's just got that massive tone and everything for me. But that's probably one of the standout tracks on that record for me. So yeah, that's my number 8, and I'm sticking with it. Sammy era. I'm a big fan of the FUCK album. I mean, it was a big moment for me, that buying that record. It was just like, man, I've got to get a 5150 amp now, and like it just was one of those moments. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
What's your number 8, you, Steve?
And that was your starting. That was Brad's starting point with the band. So obviously that record's going to hold a lot of weight with him, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
For number 8, definitely Judgment Day.
Right on.
Steve.
Oh, I'm next.
Yeah.
Where am I? Where'd that list go? Hold on.
Hold on, it's okay. Thanks for joining us, guys. Thank you for hanging out, and tell us what your favourite Van Halen songs are in the chat too. You know, don't be shy. It's not the Brad and Steve and Andrew show. It's everyone's show. So you know, give us your top 3 in the chat.
It's very important to note that these songs will probably change tomorrow for me.
Yeah.
Oh, big time, big time.
But for now, this is what I picked. So,
yeah, guys. So I guess we were talking about. You said something. You were talking. Did we mention something about the Van Halen sort of boogie that they had in some of the songs? That's kind of funky boogie that they had, and I guess when it comes to the first album, for me, and I'd say definitely the song "I'm the One." I think it's a funny song where they have that breakdown, where they have the vocal little breakdown near the end of the song, and it's just the boogie of the song and the speed that Eddie's playing at. It like when I'll say it every time, like when I just generally think of this record, I know everybody talks about Eruption or Running with the Devil. I don't know what it is, but for me, it's I'm the One. And it's kind of hard, like where I live here in Victoria, if they're going to play something off this record again, Running with the Devil or You Really Got Me, maybe Ain't Talking About Love, but I'm going, guys, like, again, the goofy list. The number 1 song on this, hands down, is I'm the One. Like, I can almost like delete the rest of it because for me, it has everything in it for this band at that time. Just the whole groove of the song and the speed he's playing at, and it's funny. It's them, like it represents them so well at that time, and the rest of the songs don't really have that element maybe into it. I don't know what it is, but it's all everyone's opinion, right? So, but for me, it's definitely I'm the One is my number 8 pick. Yeah.
Yeah, my number 8 pick is off that album too, and it's interesting that you should talk about that because one of my favourite songs off that album is, you know, Feel Your Love Tonight. I just love that. When I was a young guy, 14 years old, hearing that, just the melody, you know, getting funny in the back of my car, just, you know, I just love that song. And then that solo comes in, and you know, it's interesting because I was watching Johnny Bean and Caleb earlier when they were outside. Caleb was outside Eddie Van Halen's house showing the memorial flowers that people had left there, and Caleb said that he thanked social media because it gave him an opportunity to hang out with Van Halen fans, because when he was growing up he didn't have any Van Halen fans. He was the only one, that all his friends were listening to The Cure. And I stuck my finger up because that's me, man. A couple of my friends who shall remain nameless were listening to Visage and Cure at the same time too, you know, when I was listening to Van Halen. So that's one of my favourite songs, and I think you make a good point too, Steve. You know, we all know what the popular songs are off the album, and you know that's fine, that's cool. Yeah, but I think what we need to do is just find the songs that we like ourselves.
Yeah, and that's a good song. That was one of the first. I think the first Van Halen song I could actually play beginning to end was Running with the Devil, but then it was Feel Your Love Tonight. It was just that riff, how it sort of goes in a few different spots. and I really liked it. And that was that was probably the second Van Halen song I learned how to play was "Feel Your Love Tonight." Yeah.
That's awesome.
Sorry. Does anything else on Van Halen 1 appear on your list, Andrew?
No.
Wow. So that's your Van Halen 1 song. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Yes. And but I didn't want to cheat, guys, because I didn't pick Eruption because that's not a song. But if you guys have picked Eruption, that's okay.
Yeah. So what are we at? I guess we're up to Brad's number 7.
Yeah.
Number 7. Are we up to 7? We're up to 7, aren't we?
Yeah.
I picked, for obvious reasons, Pound Cake.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
When I heard that on MTV, I was that big guitar, the big overtones on the guitar, and the big slamming drumming, and it just resonated pretty strong with me. But that's my number 7, and I just love the Sammy vocal on it, and yeah. But that's my. I could have probably picked 3 or 4 from that record to be in my list, but then there's other songs on other records that sort of outweigh them a little bit. But it was a pretty weighty record for me. The Pound Cake is number 7 for me.
Right. So for me, the Pound Cake, I had a cassette player in my car. When that song was first released, I had Pound Cake, like a half an hour tape on one side and a half an hour on the other. I had a whole side was just Pound Cake. So it was just the drill, the sound of the drill. Like every song was the sound of the drill, and the drums kicked in, and then one of the details you said earlier about like getting the for unlawful carnal knowledge tone, like for Pound Cake. Like I know through interviews and stuff that there's actually like six guitars are on that main like chords of that riff. So like how you gonna get your one guitar to sound as huge as 6? And that's an interesting thing. We'll probably talk about it later, but where it's not like the Kramer 5150, like 5150, the album, then OU 812, he was still, a lot of the songs were the Kramer 5150 into his old Marshall. And then all of a sudden for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, it's the new Ernie Ball guitars, it's the PV amps, and there's tons of overdubbing and a number of guitars on riffs. And the sound is huge, and it's Andy Johns did the engineered it, and he did Led Zeppelin 4. So it's like a pretty huge guy to come in for the band. But I mean, that album was huge, and the tour seemed to go on forever. That one, yeah.
I'm a big fan of that record, and that's why I picked 2 from that record. But I probably could have picked another 1 or 2 from it, but I went with some other ones because they. There's other songs that weigh a little bit more weight now that I appreciate more now than I did back then. But I was big into that record when it came out. That's all I listened to for probably 12 months straight. Just
So is there another song on your list above that, Brad, above Pound Cake, or is that?
That's it from that record. Yeah,
right on. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. 10, 9, 8. So my number 7. Okay, there I go.
While he's grabbing his item to share with us, guys, Brad and I, we're very happy to have you hang out with us, and thank you for participating with us, and we enjoy your comments in the chat too.
So guys, for my number 10, 9, 8, my number 7. So I'm going to say this. This song grabbed me on the recent tours. So Van Halen was with Sammy Hagar, and then Sammy was out, and then a few years went by, and they came back with David Lee Roth singing. And I went to every tour. I've gone to every tour since 1988, except with Gary Cherone because he didn't come around this area. But on the more recent tours with David, whether it was, I think, 2012, 2015, all of a sudden, I don't like it's from this album. Women and Children first. I don't know what it is, but when those jungle drums of Everybody Wants Some starts, and Eddie starts dive bombing and doing the howls,
Wow.
the whoops, and the horse sounds, like full on goosebumps. And it's weird because it never hit me till 2012. It's the oddest thing, but it never grabbed me when I used to just listen to this cassette when I was younger, like in my teens. It just never. I like the song Fools a lot. I think that was my favorite song off that record at that time. And then I don't know, that's what happens. You see a band live, and all of a sudden this song, like, I couldn't believe it. Like, it floored me. And then I was like, there was a movie that came out in the 80s called Better Off Dead, with John Cusack was in the movie, and they had a little hamburger, like an animated hamburger with eyes on it, and he grabs one of Eddie's guitars, and that song, like the jungle drum starts and that. But I don't know, it's the weirdest thing, but that's what makes a band great, is that here's a record from 1980, and all of a sudden, not till like 2012, like 32 years later, I'm going, oh my God, listen to this. And then I couldn't wait for the next time I saw them in 2015. Oh my God, I'm gonna get to hear Everybody Wants Some again. So that's like Brad was talking about, tomorrow you might have a new favorite. Well, that definitely happened to me from like 2011 till when I saw the tour in 2012. All of a sudden, like, Everybody Wants Some is, just let me look for a second. This is my David Lee Roth year's favorite song is Everybody Wants Some.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, he's got something.
No, I've got that on CD, that record. So I've got them all on CD.
Right. Yeah, just so you know, Brad, there's vinyl coming into my house like every other day. Like, I can go on eBay and order whatever I want. So I've got like, original, like, okay, if it's Van Halen, I'll get like an original, like US release, like the original one. And then if they re-release them, like they have, like all these ones I'm showing are sealed copies from more recent releases, like maybe 10 years ago. I've got tons of stuff like that. I'm big into the vinyl now, which is interesting. When I was a kid, I went from vinyl, and all of a sudden, like, CDs came out, and CDs would have an extra track on them, and then my friends would have those, and I'm like, well, I don't have the CD with the extra track. So then I sold all my old vinyl, and I bought a CD player just because you were getting extra tracks, and it was like that big of a deal at the time. But now, all of a sudden, I'm going back and getting all the stuff I used to have. Anyway, yeah. So we're at Andrew now. Andrew, we need your number 7.
Okay, awesome. Okay,
he's only had the David Lee Roth years so far, Andrew.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Well. Just hold on. We're getting there. So my number 7 is this album here. Off this album, Balance. And it's the Seventh Seal, and Brad and I spoke about this on one show we did earlier. 1995, this album came out. Grunge was the big thing, and I remember hearing about this album after the single had been released, hoping that it wasn't going to be grungy. So I bought the CD, put it into my CD player in my car after I picked it up, and I'm thinking, what the heck is going on here, First of all, I thought it was my CD player, so I popped the CD out again and popped it in again, and and then realised, it's not my CD. It's got these, it's those Tibetan monks going, and I'm thinking, oh wow, okay, this is weird. And then all of a sudden, that opening chord, and it just blew my socks off. And I haven't recovered. So Steve, no, that's not the only song.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got more songs. I've got more songs from this album. on my list, but
Wow.
just a colossal album, and we can talk more about just the tone. Sammy singing, it's just phenomenal. I just love the album. And just one little thing before I pass it on to you guys. It just breaks my heart when I look at some of the YouTube footage from that era when they're touring, and Sammy and Eddie aren't making any contact at all. They don't even look at each other, and we didn't know what was happening. But we all know now that they weren't even talking. They weren't even traveling together. So yeah, it kind of breaks my heart that we're watching these wonderful performances, live performances on YouTube, and yeah, we're not getting that connection. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a great song off that record for sure, and it has that interesting rhythm, like in between the main riff of the song. That sort of reminds me. There's a part of Mean Street at the end that's kind of like that. This sort of odd time rhythm thing. I'm repeating some more. Yeah.
Hey,
Talk about Eddie's like such a great. Go ahead.
So Steve, is that that timing thing, is that Alex? Is that Alex's signature? Is that something that he's doing, or is that something that Eddie has kind of thought about beforehand? And the reason why I'm asking these questions is because, if we look at Jimi Hendrix did a lot of the arrangements for the other musicians when he was recording his first couple of albums. So I'm just asking that question to see if we can get some kind of...
There's a list of guitar players that in between the main riffs of songs, that's what separates them from the rest. They always have these interesting things in between the main riff that keeps the song interesting and going. And Eddie was a master of that. I think Adrian Smith from Iron Maiden, he's a real master of that too. Like what needs to go in between all these parts. And I sort of follow that band a little bit, and he does that. I think Warren DeMartini from Rat does that really well. I'm a big fan of his too. It's just that's what separates them from the rest. The guys that cool. I like, they fill in the gaps really well. So whether it's inspired by Alex's rhythm, okay, Eddie's sitting there, what am I gonna play? I mean, I don't know. I'm not there when they're writing this stuff, right? But I definitely like guitar players that do that put the interesting rhythms in between the main riffs of the songs. Yeah. So I guess Brad, you're up next.
Mine. All right. I put House of Pain.
Wow.
Big track. Big track. I love the rhythm. I love the guitar playing in it. And I love the chorus. I love the chorus in it as well. But it's just one of those songs that on 1984, when that song comes on, it's like it's balls to the wall, so to speak. It's just there. So for me, that's a big moment for Van Halen. Just love it. I love Eddie's playing too. He's cross rhythms with the drums and everything like that. You were just talking about the drumming and everything like that, and Eddie's playing between and stuff. And I think he's playing on that is he knows where his one is, he knows where the two is, the three and the four, but he's like got his one and his three on time, but the rest of it's just catching up or something. It's weird.
There's a few songs like that. Yeah.
It's a hard song to learn to play properly, that song, because the riff is it's on the beat, but it's not, if that makes sense. So it's Eddie's song.
There's another song on 1984, that album, above this pick that you have, Brad?
There's one more.
Okay. Yeah, I won't talk about it then. That's good. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So
okay.
that's number 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's yeah, okay. My next pick, where am I? My number 6. Okay, hold on. Yeah, so Andrew's already gone to this album and on his last pick, and I'm going to it as well. So on the Balance album, the actual video was released before the album. It was like before the new year. It was like late December of 1994. They had the Don't Tell Me video was released. And I mean, you talk about Pound Cake and how big the sound was. I don't know what it was, but Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do. Like it's such a simple thing Eddie's doing, like on the low E string, like the side of his pick when the intro to that song is how he plays it. But it's just so huge. I mean, it's just like, does he have 14 guitars like recording into this thing? But regardless of that, it's just also Sammy singing in the song, and just everybody in the song sounds great. And it was the video that grabbed me. There's the kid in prison and that, and I just sort of it was just the whole vibe of the thing. It really struck a chord with me. So and Eddie's solo on that was amazing. On the video it was shortened. The solo was shortened, and then on the album it was released like later in January in 1995. So was a lot longer, the solo on the actual recording, which again, it's kind of weird for me because I was so used to the one on the video, and I guess it was out for close to a month before I had the actual album. But it was that thing Brad was talking about. The video was released, and I was watching the world release of that video, and I had it recorded, and then I was playing it like every single day, like 14 times or whatever, until the actual album came out, right? So I was trying to like figure out the solo off the video, and all of a sudden the album's released, and they got this other solos attached to it. So in a weird way, I still like the original one off the video for me. But yeah, and I saw this tour. One show I saw this tour in just east of Seattle, Washington. It's an amphitheater called the Gorge Amphitheater in Washington, the state of Washington. Outdoors. That's where
Wow.
I saw this tour. Yeah, and also, I guess I should have mentioned this earlier. But the video held enough weight for me. But actually, if you watch, there's a live recording of this from Toronto on the Balance tour. You can look up on YouTube when they play the song "Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do." It's at the end of the song. Sammy does a chant back and forth with the audience that he do live on the song, just with the "Hey, hey, hey," and then he'd go to the crowd, "Hey, hey, hey!" Like at the end, it was a real cool moment. But I'd still take the original because it was just that time period of seeing something when it came out. And I also my next favorite would be Seventh Seal, Andrew, off of this record. But yeah, Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do would be my 6th pick. Yeah.
That's fantastic. You're so lucky to see them in 95. So at what period of that tour did you see them? When they were hanging out together, when they were, still tight, or was it towards the end of the tour where they weren't speaking?
I can't. I'd have to look at the tour dates of when I saw them because I don't know where it lies in it. But I didn't have that on my radar at all of them not getting.
Nobody did. Yeah.
I'd have to look at an official set list of when the Toronto show was and when the one I saw was in Washington State. But
cool.
Yeah, as far as I was concerned, me and my friends went. We had a great time. It was a great concert, and I didn't started reading stuff later until I started reading about one of the producers or on the engineer on that record. This Bruce Fairburn from Vancouver he was becoming friction between Eddie and Sammy, and I don't know if that was part of the reason why they split. But I have more to talk about that in a second. But yeah,
cool.
So I guess Brad's up next.
Yeah.
Number 5. We're up to 5. Mine's from that record too. Not Enough.
Oh wow.
Off that.
Yeah.
Love Eddie's
Not enough.
piano playing.
Show your CD, brother. That's the one.
That's all right.
Yeah.
And Brad, you saw them perform that on the David Letterman show?
I did, yes.
Oh,
yes.
you did?
I taped. Actually, I've got it on videotape. I taped it when they were. I knew they were coming on, so I had my videotape ready.
Yeah, I was there too, man. It was record, pause, wait, and then next.
I think I missed the very first couple of notes of Eddie playing, but
okay.
And then he switches over to the guitar and that's that song in itself. I just love it. I mean, I love hearing Eddie play piano, and I love the it's got a really nice, sweet. It's a beautiful song, and his guitar playing is phenomenal.
Is that the debut of the Peavy when he's when he moved from Music Man to Peavy? I'm pretty sure. I think that's the
Yeah. It was a red Peavy with a black headstock.
Wine red or something.
Yeah. So Brad, would you prefer the album version or prefer it when you saw it on David Letterman? Do you have a preference?
Oh, good question.
The Letterman version was shorter, wasn't it?
Yeah, but just for me, it's a different experience when you see them, and it might resonate something else with you when you see him play it live, right? Yeah.
When I watched that live, I was like blown away because obviously the guitar tone is big, everything's fat. But I still love the recorded version on here. I love that as well.
Yeah.
I would love to hear a live record from that era, to be honest with you. That would be phenomenal. I'd love to hear a proper mixed live recording of that whole record. So that era anyway.
So I guess you could watch there's stuff on YouTube, like the Toronto show I was talking about. And I know there's some really early shows. I think we're in Holland, and they have some cool performances, like Andrew's Seven Seal. I think it started the set. There's a concert I've seen in Holland that was really cool, and especially, I'll get into it later. But yeah, they did some cool songs on that they didn't do on the North American tour when I saw them. Unfortunately, yeah.
But that was my number 5, mainly just because I love the song. Beautiful song, and Eddie's guitar solo in it is it's very emotive. Like he's still playing like Eddie Van Halen, but it's slightly different from his normal playing too, I think, on that song in particular. I think he just went for the vibe of the song rather than try and overplay or anything like that, which was, maybe why I like it so much.
Yeah, I like Brad that you had like Right Now, and you have this one where the keyboards are in there, because like since his passing, everyone obviously is going to talk about Eruption and the guitar playing and this and that, but I'll get to it in a bit. But not a lot of people talk about his keyboard playing. But I'm a big fan of that sound. That for me, when I hear any keyboard stuff, not so much on a grand piano, but the synthesizer stuff, I think of sort of the mid 80s. That seemed to be a theme with a lot of bands in the 80s when they were playing the synthesizer stuff. So it was kind of like a little window of time, right? But I always like there was the song "Feels So Good" off of Volume 812. I even like that song; even gives me goosebumps, right? So I think
there's a couple of tracks off that one as well, like Seven Seal I love, and I also love, what was it called? Feeling, the last track on that as well.
Yeah. So Andrew, I think we skipped you. I think you've got 2 picks because you've only picked like 4 songs.
I just want to add something to the question that you asked Brad quickly. That Letterman show version of that song is phenomenal. If you guys haven't seen it, because Van Halen are playing live. That's, they're not miming or anything like that. that seamless transition that Brad speaks about, where he goes from playing the piano up to doing the guitar solo, and it's just phenomenal. It's just, and yeah. So I'm going to pick Brad the Letterman version. You know, only because I can see it. You know. Yeah. I love it. I just yeah. And you know, it's a little bit different too, because you know, that's the time when Eddie's got short hair. Like hey, I'm going to tell you guys this. So do you guys remember? Do you guys remember where the heck is it? Do you guys remember getting the CD or the DVD of Balance, and then having a look at it, and then seeing Eddie with short hair? Do you guys remember I remember going, wow, he's cut his hair off. Wow, what's going on there? You know, I'm just trying to you know, so you know, I remember going, oh wow, super cool though.
Yeah, he was in Rolling Stone magazine, did an issue with him and Valerie Bertinelli. Eddie was on the cover where he had the short hair during that time.
That was I saw that before I saw the
hold on.
I got that.
Hold on.
So I got that first.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you have HMV in Australia?
We did back then, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not anymore. It's got a couple of live songs on it. It's got Why Can't This Be Love, Panama, and Pound Cake Live.
Is it live from what tour?
It doesn't say.
Oh, really?
It doesn't say what tour.
Huh.
Just got when they were written and stuff like that. So, yeah. But that was my introduction to Balance, that one.
So Brad, do you think those songs are from the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour, those live tracks?
I think so.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they've probably taken off right here. Right, what was the live record they did? That one,
right here, right now. Yeah.
Probably
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The re-recorded live album.
Yep.
Yeah. So Andrew, you had Not Enough from David Letterman was your next pick?
No. I'm just I'm just agreeing with you when you said, you know, what version of the song do you like? And I'm saying that the Letterman version. But so everyone who's a Van Halen fan talks about Fair Warning being the guitar album that you know, that they love, that Eddie did. For me, 5150 is the guitar album for me, from Van Halen. I just love the guitar work on that on this album. So the song I've picked next on my list is Good Enough, and again, I just love I love strong, powerful opening tracks. You know, you've got Sammy coming, hello, you know, it's just like wow, and then just this guitar, and I'm going, you know, again, I'm going to echo everything that you guys have been saying so far. You know, it's goosebumps, it's memories, it's putting yourself back into exactly where you were. That's one of the great things about music, you know, it just has that power over us. I love it. I just love that song. Yeah. And this is my Fair Warning album.
Great. And Andrew, have you heard any live recordings from the 5150 tour? Because they used to do Good Enough live in concert, and unfortunately it was cut out of the Live Without a Net video.
Yeah, on YouTube there's a few a few clips, which is, you know, phenomenal. Do you guys know why they cut that out? You know, was it because of space, or they weren't happy with the version?
No, it was an hour and a half. Was a VHS recordings back then, And what they did was an hour and a half. There's that song and also Dreams. I know later on in the tour they were actually playing Dreams live. So what was cut out of there was definitely those two songs, that's another thing, right? Yeah, that's something that maybe could be released in this whole going through the vaults and stuff, is to give us everything that was recorded that night.
Perfect example of doing a repackaging and a re-release. Why not? Live Without a Neck can and probably does need to be, remastered. It's wow. What an album, what a DVD, CD download that would be. Is there any footage left? Actual film footage?
Yeah, there's you watch the end credits of that concert, and then there was a guitar duel at the end of Ain't Talking About Love that Eddie and Sammy used to do. They used to go to one side of the stage and one guy's playing high, then the other guys would play high, then they'd run across the stage and they were sort of dueling back and forth, and that you see clips of it at the end. But there'd be all kinds of stuff that they could add to that. And I was going to ask you guys another question. We've talked about this remastering thing. Have you guys ever like loved an album, and then all of a sudden a producer comes in and they remaster it, and then you actually don't like it the same because it's not the way you originally knew it? Have you guys ever experienced that?
Beatles' White Album that Giles did a couple of years ago.
Oh, okay. And what was the difference for you, Andrew?
I don't like the clearness and the clarity that you get on some of the songs, and I suppose one of the key things about social media is that I probably, to be fair, guys, because I'm half deaf, wouldn't have picked it had I not read reviews or watched a YouTube show where some cats are talking about the Beatles and then you go to that song and that part of the song and you listen to it and you compare it to the original that you've been listening to for 30 years, and it's like, yeah,
because that's what I would say about a lot of this stuff. I'm so used to the way I hear it, and I know someone chimed in the chat about like OU812, like maybe the sound of the drums or the bass needs to be turned up, but then for me, I don't know what it would do as far as, because I've loved these songs the way they are, and then I don't want like young kids get the remastered version. That's the only way they're going to know it. Well, you don't know the version I know. That gives me the goosebumps. Like it might wreck it. But yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've got a few songs on my list off that album, because again, that's a masterpiece in my opinion. So I want to ask you guys some questions about this album. So why wasn't there a presence of bass on that album? Who's responsible for that? And everybody that I know that's a Van Halen fan says that it could do with more bass. So do you guys have an opinion on that, Brad and Steve? I'd be cool to hear it.
Go ahead, Brad.
I'll leave it to you, Steve, because I to be honest with you, I don't know why they did. I don't know why. Maybe they just wanted it to be more upfront with the keyboards and guitars, maybe. I really don't have an explanation for it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, they just needed to turn it up a couple notches is all it really was. But yeah, I think of the songs and you don't hear like bass breaks or anything. It's all about Eddie, and I mean I love Alex's drum sound on the tracks, and Sammy's vocals are killer, and yeah, it's just they just needed to turn him up a little bit. Michael Anthony on that one, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So I've got 6 songs from Brad, and I have 5 from Andrew and 5 from me. So Andrew, do you want to do your next pick? Because I know we skipped over. Yeah, we skipped over you.
Okay, so the next song is Best of Both Worlds off 5150. I just Yeah. Again, it's that goosebump factor that we, as music fans, can relate to. I just love the chord sequence that Eddie goes. Is it from an A to a D or a D to an A? It's a pretty simple, and that's one thing that I want to talk to you guys about. So just hold on for a second. So Eddie plays a lot of chords down here, for a guitar player. I don't know if you guys have noticed that,
Yeah.
He's not playing up here a lot, but he loves playing here, which again indicates to me the fact that the guy has certainly got an understanding of the chords and the music and that whole tone. So it's not necessarily, the blistering solos, that, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating what thousands of other people have been saying, but I think it's a point that we need to talk about and probably continue talking about for the rest of music history and the existence of the world. But I just love that. I love the fact that he's, does A to D to, and, effortlessly, and he's not doing a full D. He likes to do, that kind of D. So it gives even just a beginner guitar player an opportunity to at least play some chords along with what they might perceive to be difficult songs. Do I make any sense?
Yeah. His big one was, here's your standard country chords, kind of C. This is your standard C, but he always did this one. It's like, this is G, and then he'd just come down to the A string with his middle finger. That's how he'd play C. So he wouldn't do it the country way. It was like G, but then it was just an easier transition.
Yeah.
But he did that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Just phenomenal. Just phenomenal. And also another little thing too that he he stole off Hendrix too, because he loved using his thumb. So he'd use his thumb.
Yeah. I do that a lot too.
Yeah.
Same with Jimmy Page does that a lot. In the band I play with, the Zeppelin stuff, there's a few songs that, and Hendrix, in All Along the Watchtower, we do that song. There's a few times where I'm losing my thumb, just because some of the strings end up being open and it gives it a different sound. Yeah. Okay, I guess I got to do my sixth song.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going back to this. This is where I started. So like Brad's already touched on keyboard songs. I'm going to be doing Spotify lists of your guys' favorite songs, because I'm always interested in what other people's favorites are, because then if I listen to it enough, it might spark me that I might like it too, more than I already do. But so Brad mentioned Right Now. He's mentioned Not Enough. So my favorite keyboard song by Eddie Van Halen is off of this, but also, I guess first I should show this. Am I cutting out?
Oh, hold on. Oh.
Yeah, no. Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
So if you guys watch the movie The Wildlife, when the end credits are going to roll, there's a keyboard song, and on this, it's called Back to School. And it's my favorite Eddie Van Halen keyboard song. It's goosebumps right from the opening note right to the end. And I love cranking this song in the summertime when I got in my convertible sports car and the top's down and it's blazing hot out. And I love cranking this keyboard song. And it's back to that thing I said, like that sound of the mid-'80s synthesizer stuff. But I get it every time I talk about this song. And so many people have never heard it. And I know, I'm deviating from just studio releases. But for me, the musical spring in the band's Eddie Van Halen, and I'm giving my top 10. so my number, what is it? I'm at number 5 here. So like the keyboards have to be involved with him because I see him like as a musician, not just a eruption on guitar. Like I love the keyboard. I love Feel So Good. I love Dreams. I love Not Enough. I like anything he's ever done. Jump even on the piano. But for whatever reason, the Back to School, and I guess I love this stuff a little extra because so many people have never heard it. So it carries a bit more weight with me. But yeah, you can go on YouTube or go to the Van Halen news desk and call up the song Back to School. And I'm guaranteeing if you listen to that, you're going to get the goosebumps. That's my guarantee from this song.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Kubrick. Hey, Les.
So yeah.
Hey, Bent.
So do we want to go back to the host, Andrew? Do you want to pick your next one?
Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. I'm just saying hello to people. Sorry. Okay, guys. All right.
We've all done 6.
This album here, OU812,
Right.
look at that album cover.
Isn't that a copy of a Beatles album cover?
Yeah. So that was certainly the first thing I saw when I saw that because being a Beatles fan with the Beatles, and so I'm looking at that and I think, oh wow, that's pretty cool. So the song off this album that's next on my list is Finish What You Started. I just again love that intro. Didn't know what he was playing at the time. We've since found out it was a Strat, which is probably, correct. Well, I probably did kind of know that, but had to be told that. And again, Sammy's lyrics. I know that it's fashionable for some Van Halen fans to give Sammy a bit of grief about some of his lyrics, but baby, if you want to see other guys, baby, I can let it slide. That's something that I thought that I was saying to the chicks back in the day.
Yeah, those are the songs that are often most popular. If you can relate to the lyrics, those type of songs hold a lot of weight with people. Yeah.
What's your one, Brad?
Mine. What are we up to? Number.
Yeah, we're up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you've picked 6. So this would be your number 4, I guess.
Number 4. I've got Drop Dead Legs from 1984.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the minute I heard this track, it just took me back to listening to like a Zeppelin song for the first time.
Right.
Wow.
That same vibe, that swinging drum beat, the riff was just, lots of space in the riff, and the vocal, David Lee Roth just owning that one. I love it. It's one of my favorite songs off 1984.
Yeah. So you've had what have you had? You got Girl Gone Bad, House of Pain, and Drop Dead Legs. He's a big 1984 fan, apparently.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love that record because I remember, obviously, I went backwards, and it was the first David Lee Roth record I got, and it was, I loved every track on it, basically. I could pick nearly every track on it.
Yeah. No, because you mentioned a couple of the ones, and I asked, like, do you have any more 1984 ones on your list? So that would have been my favorite if I was going to pick it, but it wasn't in my top 10, but probably in my top 20. It'd be in there. So I know a bit of the history of that song. Eddie Van Halen, he loved AC/DC. He obviously, like when he was younger, he loved Eric Clapton and Cream, and then he liked AC/DC. So I know that he was inspired by the song Back to Black when he was writing that song. So you can almost sort of tell because of the spacing you were talking about between the riffs or the chords. Yeah.
No, I love that track. That's my number 4. I love it. Love that track.
Do you have another one from 1984 on your list, Brad?
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I guess it's my turn. So, yeah. Where is it?
Hey, Johnny.
Yeah, guys. So, off of Live Without a Net specifically, off of this record. Hold on. Sorry. Yeah, so off of 5150. So this was when I first got into Van Halen, when Sammy was in the band, and I've been yelled at by people, of course, that I'm supposed to like the years with David Lee Roth more. But when you're introduced to the band and you get the goosebumps from this stuff, definitely the clips I saw of the tour, which of course the Live Without a Net, and so I guess I was the first time I was really blown away. I mean, right from the beginning of the show, there was One Way to Rock, the Sammy Hagar song, and then there was Summer Nights. But for me, the song 5150, off of this specifically, it was what I was talking about earlier, like how, like for some people, Jimi Hendrix, it was like, oh my God, he changed the world and he's like an alien almost. And then for me, like when I see Eddie Van Halen in the middle of like the 5150, the song, the solo, like all the tapping and dragging his finger along the frets, and like everything seems so amplified and everything seems so perfect. Actually, this whole performance, everything sounds so perfect. And whether they went into a studio and fixed things, I mean, from my brain, when I'm seeing him do all the stuff, it sounds like what he's doing. And for me, that 5150 song, the solo in that, it's so like alien to me. And that's when, like this whole video here, this made me actually pick up a guitar and start playing, right? So that song holds a lot of weight. Not so much, hey, it's Simon's in the house.
Good morning. How are we doing?
He just woke up. Yeah, so yeah, that anyway, I'm going 5150 live specifically. For whatever reason, the studio one just doesn't hold the same, because it's what Andrew talked about, like seeing something visually and also the performance. There's just something about it that I had never really seen before. It's like a Jimi Hendrix moment for me. What was seeing the 5150 solo being played, it's just it was so alien, all the dive bombs and the tapping and everything. So I just yeah, so that was my next pick. Yeah.
Hey Simon, how are you? So
Good morning. Thanks
for joining us. So we're just going through nerding out on some top 10 Van Halen songs. So feel free to jump in and ask any questions.
I have a list.
Brad, what's your next song, brother?
We're up to number 3, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I could have picked a handful of tracks off each of these albums that I picked from, but obviously the ones that really sort of gave me the goosebumps and resonated with me a lot. What have I got here? Little Dreamer from the first record.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Just love the riff. Love that he's playing on it. And I think the band just cooking on the first couple of records, you can really hear the energy on the first couple of records they did. And I mean, the standouts for me on the first record, for example, are Running with the Devil, Ain't Talking About Love, Little Dreamer. There's a handful I could have picked from there, but Little Dreamer is one I always find myself wanting to hear again. So, and when that riff kicks in, and the sounds are just phenomenal. When you think about that era when everything was very punk orientated, and I mean the supergroup thing like Zeppelin and Deep Purple and all that were phasing out. Deep Purple on their last legs. Black Sabbath were, on their demise, and Van Halen come out with something really fresh, So Little Dreamer for me. Yeah, I don't know what it is about that one. It just gives me goosebumps when it comes on. Every time I listen to that first record, that's my pick of that record at the moment, anyway.
Where does "I'm the One" stand on your Van Halen 1 list?
Van Halen 1 record.
Yeah.
Look, it's Van Halen 1 and 2 have recently become higher on my list of wanting to listen to over some of the Sammy stuff, if that makes sense. But probably within my top sort of 5 records, Van Halen 1 and 2 are in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying, Brad was asking you, was the song "I'm the One." Where does that rank for you on the first album? Because that's my favorite off the first album.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. That's fine. I'm just curious. Like you mentioned, Running with the Little Dreamer's your favorite. Running with the Devil. Does "I'm the One" like in the mix of those songs, or does that?
I love that track too. I do love that track. But Little Dreamer, just for some reason, I just like the. I tend to pick the ones with Van Halen that have got a bit of swagger to them, and that one's got that real swagger for me. So, yeah.
Right. Simon Williams, what would your favorite Van Halen 1 song be?
G'day, buddy.
Okay.
This is really embarrassing. I'm sorry. Do you know what? It's because Andrew and I have to do. Because I'm old. See, I'm 62, right? So I turned up in music in 1972, not in 1980. So and then in the UK in 1977, there, you'll be noticed there was a bit of a musical diversion going on in the UK called punk, and I think there's a really interesting cultural thing goes on for the first time that music in the UK kind of divides off from America to a great extent. It does its own thing. So I'm sitting in the UK where Van Halen don't really hit on my consciousness at all.
Okay.
As a band. I mean, they came over here, I think in 77, and they supported Black Sabbath, I think, on a tour here, sort of theatre tour. And then they seemed to pretty much only come back to do the festival. So they do Castle Donington, Monsters of Rock at Donington stuff with loads of other people. It's not. And by then, that wasn't really my thing at all. I'd gone off on a different route. So I'm embarrassed to say that I have never listened to Van Halen. I know Jump, and I don't know one and two of the songs because of Caleb and stuff like that, because he's played them. So I know, Panama, and I know Running with the Devil and stuff, but I'm not entirely certain what albums they're on. And I can't say that I've listened to a whole Van Halen record, which is a shame on me. and then you run out of time, but interestingly, because I knew we were doing this, Andrew set me some homework, which I am in the process. I have listened to the whole of Van Halen 1 and the whole of Van Halen 2. But what's really weird about it is that I'm coming to them backwards. I'm coming to it all backwards. I'm not coming to it in 1977 with only knowledge. What I'm coming to is he's 40 years too late. And then, but then, of course, and this is not a criticism, but because you've heard hundreds of other people doing it too, it turns out to be you think, oh yes, this is like so-and-so. What you forget is that they were doing it first and not afterwards. So you get the timeline muddled up. Which is, so to me, it doesn't sound like as experimental and as fresh and as unique as it obviously sounded in 1977, because nobody else was doing it. But of course, I'm not arriving at it from nobody else has done this before. I'm arriving at it hopeless. Yeah,
so Simon, in your brain, can you go back to 1978 and could you maybe let me know, like, can you remember 1978 and what you would have been listening to?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I would have been listening to a lot of punk. Because obviously punk was big in the UK, and
like the Clash.
The Clash. Absolutely went to see the Clash in 1978. Yeah. One of my oldest friends was in the last incarnation of the Clash.
Oh, really?
He's called Nick Shepherd. He lives in Perth in Australia now, but he was in the last incarnation of the Clash. He was touring America with the Clash. My brother went to see him in Portland, in Maine. And my brother, he saw him on the bus. My brother saw him on the bus, went up and banged on the window. Kind of thing. Nick's like, wow, isn't it?
But
so
the lead guy,
Joe Strummer.
Yeah, he went on to have these really cool bands that he's been in over the years.
Mescaleros and stuff.
Yeah. One of the guys in my band, he really likes Mr. Strummer. Yeah.
Yeah. Sadly, he died. But so there's obviously a lot of punk, but also things like opposite for today. That 1978, I bought Darkness on the Edge of Town. So that was my first introduction to Bruce Springsteen 42 years ago.
Wow.
I love that record. And so yeah, that was kind of where I was in 1978. A lot of new wave stuff. So Elvis Costello, Television. Went to see those bands because they all came to Bristol, where I live in the UK.
Wow.
And but as I say, that there's this kind of, and I have most of my friends, just that's where we were. You know what it's like. I'm 20 years old in 1978. So, you're in with your group of friends and, you go and see stuff together and, that's what you like kind of thing. That's what's in your sphere of thing. So that's kind of where we were.
I'm really interested because there's so many people out there who, like Van Halen comes out of the gate and people talk about in magazines how, Van Halen blew Black Sabbath off the stage in the Hammersmith Odeon in 1978. And, I wish we had footage of that or whatever, but it's interesting. I'm talking to someone who, it's not even on your radar, right?
No, not particularly. I mean, Black Sabbath was the second gig I ever went to in 1972. Volume 4 tour. But so not really, no, because that tour, the Hammersmith Odeon is a 2,500 seater indoor, thing. So Van Halen would have come over from America pretty much, quite unknown. And at the same time, I went to see, for instance, Niels Lofgren, supported by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Right.
When they broke on that English tour, the first time. That's kind of where I was. So, but I never heard of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and and actually, I might have done. Actually, I might have had their album by then, which is why I went to see them. But kind of that's where. So yeah, it was just amongst. Obviously, if you're coming over to the UK, which was particularly taken up with punk and new wave, it's just going to be another thing over here in the corner that's happening. It's not going to be culturally central in a way that clearly it was much more in America than it was here. Which is, you're right, it's really interesting. And really, that first time, that kind of, the interweaving that we'd had in the 60s and the early 70s, with Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Elvis, all that kind of swapping and kind of started to diverge, didn't it? And we started to get new wave, and then we got kind of, Duran Duran, and we got the Police, and we got that new wavy, new romantic stuff, and a lot of synthesizer pop, the Human League, and kind of going off over here. Now, tell me, were the Human League and those bands in the late 70s, were they as big in the US as they were in the UK?
Yeah, so it was all about MTV. Like right around 1981 when MTV started.
Yeah.
That was the new thing. And like any of those early bands like Duran Duran, like that like totally skyrocketed them, because here's these new young English guys who are pretty handsome guys and they're fashionable. They got cool songs, and that was the big thing. And the Police was big at the time. They were on the radio all the time. And so it was the whole MTV generation. That's when it started. So it's interesting for me because I would have been like 10 years old in 1981 when that first hit. But it was, my memory of that time. You were turning on the radio so much, you were going to MTV. Oh my God! Oh,
people are making videos, those cool videos, and all of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Billy Idol.
Do I saw him, in his first band, Generation X.
Yeah.
I saw them in a tiny club, with 150 people in Bristol. Because, as I said before, everybody came. There was this circuit around the venues, and you had kind of a 2,000 seater council run, municipal theatre in pretty much every town, like the Hammersmith Odeon. So Bristol had the Colston Hall and the Hippodrome, so 2 sort of 2,000-seater venues, but it also had like a place called the Locarno, which was like stand-up venue, which held about probably 1,000, 1,500, where a lot of punk and new wave bands went. So I saw the Stray Cats there, Dave Edmunds, Elvis Costello a couple of times, Ian Dury, the Blockheads, the Clash,
Simon, would AC/DC have made any concerts of theirs in the 70s when you were younger?
Yeah, they were obviously around, and but they didn't really break big until Back in Black, really. They would do theatre tours and stuff, so they would be able to sell out, well, not maybe sell out, but be able to play the 1,800-seater, 2,000-seater halls, in the late 70s, early 80s. But again, they would just, and there was that, what's it called, Nawabum, that they used to call it, the new wave of British heavy metal, which was kind of in the early days had a similar ethic to punk. It was quite DIY. I mean, the first Def Leppard record they did themselves. Pressed up 500 copies of it, and which is a very kind of DIY punk ethic, although they weren't particularly punk.
No.
And those and Iron Maiden and Samson and those, so they were around at the same time. Saxon, those kind of coming from working class northern towns, and catering to a particular audience. Now that audience would also have been probably a Van Halen audience as well. But it was, it was one of many strands of music going on. I mean, it's the same as it is now, really. But
So you mentioned, so we know they were there in '78, and then you mentioned the Monsters of Rock tour. That would have been in 1984. So I'd have to look at like tour dates. Would Van Halen have been in England in between '78 and '84 on other tours?
No, I don't.
I think 19. Let's have a look. 19. No, they did 1980.
Oh, okay.
They toured in 1980. Just here we are. So let's have a look where they played.
Well, while you're getting that information, I just want to talk about the next song on my list, which is "Why Can't This Be Love." So I've picked it off 5150. Like I said to you guys before, I've mentioned that this is my Fair Warning album. And just look at the artwork on this album here. So we're starting to see the Rings, obviously, which is a departure from the Wings. And that always causes a lot of debate amongst Van Halen fans. And if you have a look here on the back, so you can see the new romantic kind of MTV look there going. You can see Sammy there with his short haircut on the back there, and Eddie's got a bit of a mullet. But the thing though that Van Halen fans particularly like to see, hold on, Van Halen is. That was a point that they tried to make as a departure from the previous version of the band, a point that they made in a lot of their interviews. But Why Can't This Be Love is the song that I've picked for. Is it my third song, Steve?
You have picked, just a sec, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. That's your 8th pick. So
my 8th pick, okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you. So that's my 8th pick. Sorry. And interesting how I've paralleled a song that's similar to the tone that Brad picked. You picked Little Dreamer. So I see Why Can't This Be Love as probably not your quintessential Van Halen song, but I just love it. This album, big album here in New Zealand. Everybody had this album in my circle of friends. In 1986, it was being played everywhere.
Yeah. So I have I have no memorabilia of my next pick. It's not actually sort of possible in a weird way. I guess I could have a photo frame, but that's what I'll do. That's what this show is all about. Now I have to get a framed photo of this event.
Okay.
My next pick, and which would be my number 3 now overall, is Eddie Van Halen when he was on Saturday Night Live when he did the song "Stompin' 8H." So it was exciting to see Eddie come out with a Saturday Night Live band. Of course, Valerie Bertinelli was hosting the show, and all of a sudden Eddie comes out, and again. So for me, guys, this whole Van Halen thing, it's sort of from, like 1986, 5150, OU 812. That's the Kramer 5150 guitar. Whether it's going through delays and an Echoplex and into his old Marshall, that's basically what's going on. Whatever it is, that sound and a lot of the delay and echo you hear, but definitely that performance on Saturday Night Live. I mean, that's a tone I'm always searching for. It's one of the tones I'm always searching for. And again, just all the tapping and soloing on that. It's definitely in that realm. I know I picked 5150 live off of Live Without a Net. So those two could flip, like Brad was talking about. Tomorrow it might change. I think I just did change my answer, actually. But if you get a chance, it's hard to see it on YouTube. There's Facebook page you can go on and actually see it live, because Saturday Night Live hasn't actually officially released it on their channel.
And it's not on YouTube. It's blocked. It's blocked.
Yeah.
I can't get it. You can search for it, which is a shame. So obviously it's got something to do with whoever owns Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, and but again, like Brad was talking about, at some point when that was on in 1987, I had record, pause, and then, here's Eddie Van Halen. Okay, record. So again, that tape, I was just always playing that VHS tape. So I know.
Have you still got them, Steve? Have you still got them?
Oh yeah, I got it in a
well
vault.
Well done. Vault.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I still have a VHS player actually. Yeah, they still sell them around here, so I can replace it. Yeah. So what are we down to now? We're all our final 2 picks basically. So
man,
Andrew, what do you have for your number 2?
Okay, all right. So, man, this is a hard thing. This caused me hours of debate and discussion within myself.
With himself.
It's like what is the Austin Powers ones? I'm going to introduce myself as myself or something. He says.
I could talk about myself in the third person.
my number 2 song from my number 9 song is off this album here, and it's Black and Blue. I just love the way that intro slides in. One of the first songs that I learnt to play myself. Push and slide, slip it in. How about, just again, when you're a young guy driving around with your arm hanging out the window with a couple of beers and some friends, and you're just cruising around town. It's just a song that, just brings back those memories of, once upon a time, girls were really important.
Listen to him, he's the hipster of Hamilton, isn't he?
So that would have been the first single off of OU 812. That actually was released before the album was released at the time.
So okay, we didn't get that here. We got another song as the single. We never got Black and Blue here.
Really?
I didn't hear Black and Blue until I got the album.
Right. So there was a show called Rockline. It was a radio station down in the States in California, and the guy's name was Bob Coburn. And anyway, he hosted the show, and Van Halen, when the album was going to be released, OU 812, they'd phone in. Then the band, the first week was like Sammy and Eddie, and the next week was Alex and Michael. So, but they'd have a conversation like this about, okay, we're going to talk about Feel So Good. They talk about it, and then they play the song on the radio. Then they hit the commercial, come back, talk about what the next song is going to be. And yeah, it was a really cool show. It's called Rockline. To listen to it all the time for new albums that were coming out, like all the like American bands I liked, whether it was Tesla or Rat or any of these bands. And yeah, so that was a cool show. So that was yeah, the first release was Black and Blue, right? And that was a contest from Rockline. There was a contest, and that was the contest winners. There was like 25 contest winners would get a signed copy of Black and Blue. I don't have a signed copy. I have another one, but that was the contest. Yes, Johnny Bean says he got one of those. He has a signed band. There it is. Yeah. Yeah. So Brad, what's your number 2 song?
There was quite a few that, like, obviously you have to draw the line at 10 songs, don't you?
Yeah.
Van Halen 2, Beautiful Girls. I just think it's an all-time party sort of song.
Yeah.
Great riff. And to me, that era of Van Halen there's something about that song that just, it's just got that party vibe that I always think of Van Halen now.
Yeah.
As much as I love like 5150 and all these other songs that I've missed, that song in itself, I find myself always going back to that song to listen to it again. When it comes on last track, I'm like, I'll listen to that again. I can't help myself.
Yeah,
That's
interesting, the thing you said, that sort of party vibe that they had, because yeah, there's that energy that they have, and it's sort of positive and uplifting, and they sort of spark this whole Sunset Strip, all these, they call it hair metal bands, where it's kind of like Motley Crue. It's kind of like a celebration. They're not singing about depressing things at all. And it's so strange. It's so strange that the 90s hit, and it's all like this grunge sort of depressing, like I'm in despair, help me songs. Yeah. It's so interesting, the change over a decade, how it changed.
Yeah. For me, I just really love the way that song. There's a lot of energy in that song. I love Eddie's playing on it. I love the feel of the song, but it's just got a party element to that track. Van Halen, first couple of Van Halen records have got a real party vibe to them, and they're very energetic. You can hear the band's really going for it because they're obviously trying to stamp their mark, and I really dig that track. So that's my number 2.
Right.
Do we know? Obviously, bands tend to write a lot of songs before they record their first record. Did they have a lot? Did they also hang over to the second record? Did they write a load of stuff between, were they all fresh and new songs?
No.
Do you know, Steve?
Yeah, their first tour in '78, there was times where there were certain songs that ended up on the second album were actually in the set list on the first tour, like Bottoms Up. I know was a song that they'd sometimes even close with.
Right.
So, yeah, they did have a few of the songs that they had actually when they were on tour on the first album. And then there's stuff like Brad's mentioned, what House of Pain. I think that was even written for the first album, but it didn't appear till the 6th album. So, yeah, they do that. Eddie Van Halen has that vault of riffs and songs and stuff that they all of a sudden at this point, what's, like I mentioned, my number 10 pick, Ripley, right? And all of a sudden, here we are in 2000, whatever year it was that A Different Kind of Truth came out. All of a sudden, they're putting lyrics to the song Ripley, which is from like 1985. 30 years before. So they did that a lot.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, that's in keeping with those times, isn't it, where actually you could go out and play songs that you hadn't recorded yet, hadn't released yet. I mean, I know that Pink Floyd, for instance, they toured whole sections of Dark Side of the Moon for like a year before they recorded it. Yeah, they had whole sections of it. They went out and toured it, gigged with it for like a year. I don't. You wouldn't do that 20 years later. It was on bootlegs and stuff. You wouldn't do that. But then they did, and obviously still the same thing. They just, I need 20 songs. We've only got 10 on the albums. We need to do some more. Yes, here's the ones we've written. Yeah.
So guys, my number 2 song. So off of Will You Wait 1-2. It's that goosebump factor, and I had it right away when like Black and Blue was the first single, like Andrew was talking about. I loved it, but like I sort of know this album like the back of my hand. So there was like Mine Oh Mine had the sort of synthesizer thing, and then there was When It's Love was sort of the poppy ballad. Then there's AFU Naturally Wired, which is a real sort of rockin' song. But as soon as Cobble Wobble, as soon as I heard that riff, and it reminded me of a Montrose song called Make It Last. It sort of has a bit of space in between the main riff and then the lyrics. And of course, there's the solo. It's just like every part of it. And the outro to the solo is something I always play on guitar. I've said that a few times, like certain parts of these songs that every time I pick up a guitar, like when I'm tuning and stuff, I'll do the ending rhythm of this song, the outro to this song. It's very basic chords. They're 4-note arpeggios in different spots. And I've always loved that song. And of course, they opened the club, the Cobble Wobble, and then it became a tequila brand. And then all of a sudden, I was going down to Sammy Hagar's the anniversary of the club in 1993. And then I went to the birthday bash a number of times. I've been down there at least a dozen times on trips. So I just want to show this. Here's the Darwin ape or monkey, whatever you want to call it, on the back. So anyway, I'm at a buddy's
like one of my family members.
Yeah. I'm at a buddy's house, and lo and behold, sitting at the end of this bookcase.
Man.
Wow, yeah, look at that.
Oh yeah,
you got that.
Yeah. So here's the Will You Wait 1-2 Darwin ape, and so this is just the beginning of what the importance of this song, and it's still not only number 2, but
so you stole that from your friend's bookcase?
No, I bought it for $50.
Oh, mate, you ripped them off.
$50. This would have been like 1992-ish, 93.
Oh, no, that's top dollar. That's top dollar.
Yeah. So there's that.
Oh.
Steve,
Yeah.
where does that ape holding the skull come from? Do you know where it comes from?
Well, it's Darwin, like the evolution of man.
Yeah. But no, obviously somebody did it as a sculpture. I presume it's a sculpture. Is it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So a bunch of those were made, and
for the album specifically.
Oh yeah, and then when the album came out, somebody made a bunch of replicas of that based on because it was on the album.
Right. Okay.
This is from the Cobble Wobble Cantina. This is like you'd call it. It looks sort of distressed up in the corners, like if someone has like a beach house on the beach. That's what they're trying to get at. It's just 4 pieces of wood. But this is sort of what the original logo. This is kind of the second version of the logo. So this is right from the Cobble Wobble gift shop. It was like $100, and they mailed it to me. Like I already flew home, and a couple weeks later, this showed up. So another example of the weight.
No, he didn't, guys. Steve jumped the bar and took that off one of the doors behind the bar himself. That's the real story.
Yeah, and on another trip down there, this is probably like late 90s or early 2000s. Sammy does like sort of changes the way the logo looks. So this was another distress sign. You know what? I'm really particular actually when it comes to art. But these are like a no-brainer. Like, oh, I'm in. I don't care. If this is $500, send it to me.
That's
so
fantastic.
again, yeah, I just I love these signs. One hangs in my kitchen and one hangs above my fireplace. And yeah, this is just like another trip down there to a birthday bash, and just piece of art again. I had to have. Yeah. Yeah.
Another one he leapt over the bar and nicked off the back wall.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we know the real story. We know what you Canadians are like when you've had a few rums under your belt.
Yeah. Yeah, right. That's what this is right here. Yeah.
Casual walking out.
What's that stuffed underneath your shirt? That's why Steve goes down there with fat friends so they can stuff doors under.
So, and I mentioned it, it was pretty tough when Eddie Van Halen passed away there a couple weeks ago. And I wrote on my Facebook page, like one of the things, like I went to the Cobble Wobble the first time was in May of '93 for the 3rd anniversary of the club. And always in the back of my mind, like Van Halen played there in '90 on the opening of the club, and '92. They only played there twice. And always in the back of my mind, right from 1993 to like last October. What is that? Okay, 93 to 2019.
20,
yeah.
27 years. Yeah.
27 years.
26 years.
Always in the back of my mind. I always stand like there's 5 rows. I stand 5 rows back. There's a glass partition behind me that I can lean up against because they're waiting like 4 hours for these concerts to start. Standing in the club. And I stand right in front of Michael Anthony, right? Actually, I'm actually more of a Michael Anthony fan than I am a Sammy Hagar fan, because Michael Anthony is always there, and I'm going, oh wow, it's like one of the original members of Van Halen. He's there every year, so I always go, and he's always I'm 5 rows away from him, but always in the back of my mind, I always wish that like you see Sammy Hagar walk down to the behind the drums, and then Michael Anthony, and I always wished for 27 years that Alex and Eddie would be walking behind them so I could see them live in the Cobble Wobble. But all the changes and the timing, it just never happened. And it was always there in the back of my mind, and like I can't believe like how many times I went down to that club and in line for tickets, and I mean I've met great people, and it's been an amazing journey, but now it'll never happen. No. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but yeah, I had a great time, and like obviously that's why that song it holds so much weight. Like it has to be near the top of my list. It's number 2, but yeah. Yeah, so where are we at? Number 1. Hit it.
Number 1s.
Yeah.
Brad, what's your number 1?
Mean Streets.
Whoa. Ooh. Did I have that earlier? That was my ninth pick. Yeah.
That was yours, yeah. I think we were saying when you were doing that. The Fair Warning album, it's a big album for me. I mean, there's so many great tracks on it, but that to me is a standout. Great opener, the way he taps that intro, and then the way the band kick in after he starts the riff, you know. Yeah. It's just got a really cool swing to it. Yeah. And that to me epitomizes what Van Halen were all about, I think, that song.
Yeah, it has that sort of funky sort of groove to it, the main riff of the song.
Catches everything. Yeah. I mean, Eddie playing it is phenomenal. And yeah, it's just one of those ones when I got Fair Warning, that track, it's just, I remember always hearing that track and going, what's that from? And then when I got the record, I was like, man, I just listened to that song over and over and over and over and over again, mainly just for the intro and the way the riff starts. But obviously, for me, I think that captures pretty much everything that Van Halen means in that one song.
Yeah, and I guess like I picked it, that was my number 9 on my list, but I mentioned there's kind of not really another song in their catalog before that's kind of necessarily like that. I just like the sort of groove in that song. It's kind of funky, but a little bit slow, and I know I have a lot of bootlegs from the 1984 tour, and David Lee Roth used to always say, "Oh, we have we're still a party band, but we still have the same funky attitude." And that's something that not a lot of people notice with them, because they don't listen. They always listen to the main hits. They don't listen to sort of deeper tracks like Mean Street, but they did have a lot of bit of funky sort of influence in their music. And that's a song that certainly had it. And it's interesting because Andrew was talking about Good Enough, that it's the first song off of 5150, and it came out of the gate and you loved it. And for you, it's hearing Mean Street right out of the gate, A Fair Warning, and you listen to the rest of it, but you're still going back to that first song. Yeah.
I've got a question for you guys on that Mean Street. So what year did you listen to that album, Brad? And the reason why I want to ask that is, did you know the technique when you first heard it, what Eddie was doing? Did you know that he was slapping and tapping on the fretboard? Did you pick that up? Or because I know that we know that now because there's a lot of lessons, guys showing how to play that on YouTube. So did you guys know the technique when you heard it?
Mine stems back to the early 2000s when I first got the record, but I think when it comes down to it, I remember specifically one of the bands I was in, the guitarist that used to play in the band, his name was Joe. We'd sit backstage jamming and he just started doing the intro. And I was watching him do it. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, Mean Streets. And he was playing it. And obviously I went backwards from there. I went and got the record. And I think I'd already got the record, but it never really stood out to me until I saw someone actually doing it.
Yeah.
Then I went back and watched it, and then I went and listened to it. But listening to like all these albums, like I think in the last week I've put every single record on, listened to everything. I've got immersed myself in Van Halen again. I had trouble doing that for a few weeks, after he passed away. But that, to me, out of all the tracks, pretty much. And I mean, it might change tomorrow for me, but that song pretty much epitomizes everything for Van Halen for me. That track.
Right on. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Andrew, what's your number one?
Okay. It's off this album here, and it's I'm a little bit concerned that Steve Andersen just fobbed it off as a pop love song or a pop slow song. But I won't hold that against them. It's okay,
Was it number 7 on Steve's list? Was it?
No, probably didn't even make. Probably doesn't even make his top 50. But that's okay. It's all right. That's my number one. When It's Love, that song for me just says so much. There's a lot going on in that song, and that was the single that was released here in New Zealand. We didn't get Black and Blue, we got When It's Love, and I remember hearing that somewhere. I was doing something and I just heard it and went and got the CD. No, it was the cassette. It was the cassette back then because I'm old. Because the car I had a tape player in it. And
eight track or cassette?
No, cassette. I'm not that old, bloody hell. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you later, mate. All right, okay, all right.
You know what 8-track is, Brad?
Yeah, I know what they are. Yeah, never had one. But
no.
But being a Clapton nut, and again, this is something I want to share with you guys because I didn't know it back then. We didn't have the information, but I remember listening to that song and hearing the solo and hearing some stuff, and I straight away thought of Eric Clapton. I don't know, I just heard Clapton there, and I remember sharing that opinion with a couple of my friends, and they said, fuck off, that doesn't sound like Eric Clapton, you know, and I'm going, oh, okay, well, maybe it doesn't. But anyway, years later, we find out, you know, through getting Guitar Mag, well, a couple of years later, going back to reading Guitar Player magazines, you can see clearly that, you know, Eddie's making a reference to Eric Clapton, and then later on we get a lot of videos on YouTube and interviews where he's talking about it. So you know, I'm kind of happy that I instantly heard that connection. Yeah. So yeah, that's why, one of the reasons why I love it.
I think, Andrew, can you hear a lot of Eric Clapton in Eddie Van Halen?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Okay. So one song that I didn't pick in my top 10 because, you know, we had to make a list was "Hot for Teacher." You know that "Hot for Teacher." That's Eric Clapton, man. That's Clapton.
Yeah, I know our friend from Nerd Halen, Caleb Rappaport. I know he said several times to me, he thinks that's the greatest pass of music for one song ever recorded ever. Like if just the drums and the guitar, the whole thing. I know that would be Caleb's number one for sure. So it's interesting that none of us have it on our list. Yeah, I'm excited, and I just want to say before I give my number one, I just want to thank Brad and Andrew for making these lists. I hope my week of brainstorming what order am I going to put them in. First I had stuff, here's the David Lee Roth stuff, here's instrumental stuff, here's keyboard stuff, and then I went, oh, wait a minute. And then like 2 days ago I'm like, I got to do this based on when I first heard this stuff, which Andrew was talking about. Like, when did you first hear Mean Street? So I thought about it that when I said, no, it's got to be what's your top 10. And so I just want to thank you guys for doing it. I have everything written out so I don't have to watch the show. So it's awesome because, like, just looking at Brad's list, definitely 1984, he's got 3 songs in his top 10. And you got some For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge songs on here. So those are the 2 big ones. And Andrew's got a lot of 5150 and OU 812 stuff. So I don't know if this is cheating, but for me, again, guys, it's the Eddie Van Halen influence on my life. The number one thing for me is definitely his unaccompanied solo on this. I talked about the 5150 solo, but then later, not far after that in the set, just seeing him when he sat, we didn't know it was called 316 at the time. It was just a little blues thing. And then Alex, it's really interesting. Like, I've said this to Andrew before, I collect a lot of like VHS, well, now it's DVDs of like the 5150 tour, the Monsters of Rock or OU 812 tour. And there's lots of times where that intro thing, the 316, like Alex will kick into the drums and they'll go on for like 5 or 10 minutes just on that one part. But for me, this is the part where like I actually wasn't just air guitaring with a tennis racket anymore. Like, all of a sudden there's Eruption and I can see how he's tapping and I can see Cathedral and I can see, like Brad was talking about, the Mean Street and how he's doing it. And then the Spanish Fly, like it was all within, I don't know, like 13 or 20 minutes, however long it is, like right in front of my face when I'm like 15 years old. And it just hit me like I have to learn how to do this. So it was that moment where like I had this old acoustic guitar and I strung up the guitar. Okay, this isn't good enough. I got to get an electric guitar. And then I was like full on. I'm learning like every single song that I ever heard on the radio or liked, just anything guitar wise. And it, like I have 30 guitars here and I've been playing in bands and it's been since I was 15 and I'm, almost 50 now. So yeah, it's like 34 years of just a life-changing thing just because of seeing this unaccompanied solo, basically.
Steve, what do you play in your band? What Van Halen songs do you play in your band?
What Van Halen songs do I play in my band? Yeah. Well, there's 2 different bands.
Do you approach them with care?
No, I guess like the last time we were on here 2 weeks ago, in my band, there's 3 guitar players. So I have Charvel electric I play, and there's my buddy Jeff plays a 1978 Les Paul, Black Beauty, he calls it. And then another guy,
3 pickups. 3 pickups?
Yeah, yes. And then there's a guy who plays a Telecaster. So there's 3 players, there's a drummer, and there's a bass player, the 5 of us. It's kind of an open jam. So if someone shows up with a different instrument, fine, join in. But generally the 5 of us, and we all do 2 songs each. So when I have to sing in a low register, so I grab an acoustic guitar and I sing in a low register. I slow songs down. The drummer switches from drumsticks to brushes. I mean, just certain songs have a great atmosphere, and these are the cover band I'm in. So we're playing. We're playing birthday parties. We play anniversaries, or just someone hires us to play a party, and so each of us do 2 songs basically between the 3. Like I'll do 2 songs, then Jeff does 2 songs. We got a Telecaster. He does a couple songs. The bass player does a couple songs. It's all Cream and the Who and Zeppelin and Hendrix and Beatles. Just any songs. The only Finish What You Started, Andrew will like, is the one song that I'll play. It's more in a country sort of just playing the chord way. I have a great video of Sammy Hagar at one of the anniversary of the club, an acoustic version he did. I kind of mimicked that one. So that's that band. And then there's another group of people I play music with where it's the stuff I've written myself or the other guys.
Cool. Yeah.
Where you're just playing your own riff and then you sort of see where it goes. There's no vocals or anything. Like anything I've done guitar wise and recorded, it's just riffs and stuff. I do work it out where it is that they are complete songs and done. There's just no lyrics, but I this is my chance to play this stuff. Like I love the sound of drums. Like if I didn't play guitar and have 30 guitars, I'd be playing. I love the sound. I know Andrew's like half deaf from sitting beside cymbals. I really love playing live, and for me, the drums are always like right to my right for some reason. So that's.
I'll give that to you as a song because that is a song classified on the DVD, Steve, on the VHS, because you guys were kind enough to give me Intruder and Pretty Woman as one song. So look, I just want to echo your sentiment, Steve, about Live Without a Net. That was a huge VHS too when it came out. I remember at work getting a call. Now again, guys, this is in the olden days. This is when you had to run somewhere and actually pick up the phone because it was connected on a cable and answer the phone and
what for the teenagers watching.
And then actually talk to somebody, and then someone say, "Is someone there?" And then you'd have to cover the mouthpiece and call out some, and then they'd come running, hey, man, what are you doing?
Dad would say, "Are you ringing them or are they ringing you?" If you're ringing them, get off that bloody phone. It's costing me money. Whereas if they're ringing you, then it's fine. Do you remember that?
I remember getting that call to go and watch that DVD on a Friday night after work, and just like all of us, just being captivated by that solo, because you're right, Steve, it was the first time, and probably with you too, Brad, I don't know, because you're a bit younger than us, it was the first time we could actually see Eddie play those songs, those solos that Steve had just mentioned. It was the first time and it was, amazing.
So Brad, do you remember when you first watched Live Without a Net? Like you mentioned, you first got into Van Halen with For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge. When did Live Without a Net come into your vision?
Later, because I had the right here, right now. Is it the live DVD?
Yeah.
I had that, and I used to watch the hell out of that, obviously.
Yeah.
And then it was later I got Live Without a Net, maybe 2005 or something like that.
Way later. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got it pretty late, and obviously I was taken back when I watched it, and that solo exactly is crazy. It's outrageous.
So, Brad, when you watch the unaccompanied solo from the Right Here, Right Now, I mean, they are pretty similar, but would you be able to rank them? Would you think the Live Without a Net one? I mean, it's a different sound because he's not playing through the Ernie ball into the PV amps. He's playing his old Kramer 5150. Do you prefer the one from Right Here, Right Now, or does it not register with you? Or
I think I actually prefer the Live Without a Net one.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, watching it, like, I've never actually sat and compared them, to be honest with you, like in that sense where compare A with B. But watch the Live Without a Net one, it's I mean, it always plays with like a cheekiness to his playing. He's smiling, he's playing, but on that one, he's still got a little bit more edge, like still like the, I don't know, that period of like, you know, Fair Warning and stuff. Like, I picked Mean Streets because it had that energy and happy party vibe. He still had that in his playing a little bit more in that vibe, I think. On the Right Here, Right Now, I think it was a little bit more serious. It come across a little bit more serious. But for me, yeah, probably more Live Without a Net, unaccompanied solo would have probably been more standout. Yeah.
Right.
This is where I've got to give a bit of a shout out to Johnny Bean, because it was watching his show a few years ago when they were talking about Right Here, Right Now. And, you know, I always considered myself a little bit up to play with what was happening or what had happened in Van Halen, but I never, ever put myself out there as an expert. And that's when I first got informed that Right Here, Right Now, they'd actually redid that in the studio. You know, apparently Eddie's guitar during the concert was out of tune, so they went and redid his guitar parts and the drumming and then the bass, and they were starting to fall apart as a band. And so Sammy goes in there and starts re-recording his vocals. So that whole album that we get, which apparently is a live album, isn't a live album. And I didn't know that, so I'm grateful to, you know, the Johnny Bean Show for pointing that out. So I think you did well, Brad, by picking Live Without a Net, because, you know, that's pretty much, from what I understand, an untouched, you know, live recording.
Yeah, it's so for me, guys, it's just like Cabo Wabo is my favorite studio track, and then I have to give the musical Spring in my life, all the guitaring that I've done and for 30 something years, it really sprung because of watching that. And I can't so I just wish I could have met the guy, and I wish he could have signed one of my EVH Art Series guitars. That was the one wish that I had, is I could have met him at one stage. But
did you take those down with you in the hope that he was going to be there?
No, I've never taken guitars with me. I was always a scenario. He had been to Victoria a few times with Valerie Bertinelli. I always sort of had wished, like, I would have seen him sitting in a restaurant or outside on a sidewalk cafe here in Victoria. And okay, wait a minute, man, stay here. I'm going to drive home, grab a guitar if you can sign it. That was the thing I had in my head. Not that he'd do that, he might have, but that was the one wish. One of the also wishes that I had is just that I could have ran into him to maybe sign one of my guitars. But yeah, no, it's I'm grateful to him and everything that he sparked me into, and like all the songs we've talked about, like whether it's Mean Street or Ripley or Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do, like all these songs, these are all like riffs and notes that I play even when I'm warming up with my band. They're notes and like that I go to when I'm tuning my guitar and stuff. So it's still, all these songs still resonate with me in a big way. Yeah.
Which is really the important thing, isn't it? The important thing that music resonates with people. Whatever it is, you know, you get that chill, you get that, you know, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up when
and
you know, your favorite band does something, and it's like, to me, that's what it's about. And it doesn't matter who it is or whatever. If you get that off a piece of music, somebody playing something, that to me is what, really cool, and that's what it's about,
Yeah, and it's neat that, like, if you think, if Jimi Hendrix, did he pass away in like 1970? Like, that's 50 years ago, and people still love Hendrix and dig back to Hendrix. So it's like, wow. And he was only around for such a short period of time. So yeah, hopefully, I imagine Eddie Van Halen's musical legacy is gonna last a long time. And it was actually funny. I was at a record store today, and it was the first time I saw, like, when someone passes away. Like last time it was Neil Peart from Rush. All of a sudden, the whole Rush catalog's for sale. And so this is the first time I saw a Van Halen display today of a bunch of and it was funny, Andrew. Like 2 weeks ago, like the day Eddie Van Halen, October 6th, he passed away, I had to get something Van Halen related. So I bought that 4-album Live from Tokyo with David Lee Roth from the last tour. I bought that for like, I think it was $60. And then the display today, because I know we were doing the show, and I saw that display of the Van Halen stuff, that same 4-record box set was for $153. So everything's
scalping going on. Yeah.
I've seen guitars online. Guitars that are normally $1,500 are going for $3,000. Everyone's price gouging because the guys just passed away, and sort of sad to see. But I guess that's what happens. The value of things are going to double. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully it'll calm down in a bit, won't it? As they get a bit of distance from it, it'll go back to normal. I don't like that sort of thing either. I think that's kind of cheap, really. But
then there's also
a guy. I saw there's a guy selling a pick on Trade Me, which is like the New Zealand eBay, and he's selling it for $140 because apparently it's one that Eddie played in the 2004 tour. But again, you've got no way of confirming that, but
verifying it.
But you just know that this is someone that's just taken advantage of Eddie's passing. And look, at the end of the day, if people are going to do that, well, that's just the way it is, isn't it? And
then I know I just saw yesterday a couple of Eddie Van Halen's guitars, like one of those Charvel EVH Art Series guitars. It's white with black stripes, not exactly, a little bit different. He did that on that tour where he striped up like 300 guitars, and at the end of every concert, he'd usually play it in a song like I'll Wait or Jump. He'd play the song once, then he'd sign it, and then they were going for like $15,000. Well, one of those just went up for sale for like 40 grand or something, and another guitar from his personal collection. So yeah, I can't imagine how many guitars would be either at 5150 Studios or in some kind of warehouse somewhere, or even at the the EVH Fender like guitar building place that's all owned by him. I can't imagine like the massive. It'd be like the biggest auction ever. They should have it at like the LA Forum or something, and have an auction of his stuff. But I hope Wolfgang doesn't give up like the original Frankenstein or the 5150 or the Shark or the Circles, like the original ones. I hope Wolfgang hangs on to those. I can't even imagine like what some of those guitars would go for. Yeah.
Well, I noticed there were two Eddie Van Halen guitars going up for sale, aren't there, in December? Yeah. In Los Angeles, yeah. Right.
I think those are the ones I saw. Yeah.
There's a white one, seemingly, I think, and a red and white stripe, black and white, black and white stripe, and a red and white and black stripe.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense to me. Just expected to make between $30,000 and $60,000.
So the other side of all this, have you guys ran into anyone recently? Like, there's people love jazz music, people love country music, people love folk music. Eddie Van Halen passes away, and it's like a huge deal for a lot of us. And there's just some people that's just not even on their radar. Like it just absolutely meant nothing. And I was actually stunned by that. Like, wow, it's like they're just so, people are like that though. They like one thing and that's what they listen to. And country music and Eddie Van Halen or Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, they don't mean anything.
No.
So,
but as I was saying to you earlier, Steve, some of that is, and I empathize, I have musical heroes, and if they die, so I can empathize completely, with that as a position, people, and I'm glad that people have musical heroes, and I'm, Eddie Van, obviously a massive innovator, worthy of being a hero to people and stuff. So I get it. But yeah, I think some people, if you're not, if you missed it, or, like, as I was saying, describing earlier in the UK, it was not, that, it appears on people's, people know him from Jump, say, or something like that. But, not that depth of thing that, obviously a lot of people on here who are guitarists, you built your own EVH guitars, which is fantastic, and all of that. So I think that gives you a real connection. But not everyone connects to every artist, do they? When Michael Jackson died, not everyone connects to that. Some people like, it's sad, and that's where they go with it. So I guess, that there are a lot of people, for whom he means a lot less and hasn't had an impact on their musical life, and therefore, the impact on them, the emotional impact on them, there is no real impact. It's just, general bit of somebody
on the
else
other hand,
in the rock
Simon,
world died. But
then on the other hand, Simon, you've got a lot of guys on YouTube, taking this opportunity to talk about Eddie Van Halen. They're doing what we're doing now, in a shared situation, or a lot of guys, established guys, and a lot of people that I don't even know, a lot of small channel owners going out there, talking about Eddie Van Halen. And I think we're going to probably get a lot more of that as it kind of sets in, I suppose. We were lucky last night. I don't know if you guys saw it. I managed to catch some of it live, but I went and watched the repeat where Johnny Bean and Caleb spending an hour, and Caleb's outside the Van Halen house in Los Angeles, showing
it's really
us
interesting that, isn't it? Yeah, going to see the houses of rock stars when they were growing up.
Yeah, and seeing the flowers and the and the messages from fans. So I kind of like that. That's one of the positive things about social media. And we did a show, Brad and I, and and we've done a couple of other shows, and I think we're going to get some more information coming out from other fans as well. But I certainly, guys, I do look forward to this material, and I just want to echo everything that you said earlier, Steve, about getting some of these box sets, and Brad, and again too, it would be good, it'll be good to get them. And Simon, you've got a big record collection there. Bruce Springsteen, that comes out, they do it tastefully. They have some photos of an era or a tour, and there's certainly a market out there, a big market.
The live things that he does, the releasing of the live concerts is really cool. That, I don't know if you've got Brad and Steve doing it, but you can buy. Basically, Bruce Springsteen has a kind of live concerts section where you can buy, where they release them in their entirety. They mix them, sort them all out, put them in 2 CDs, and basically you can buy a complete concert from one you might have gone to from across the eras. So I've got one. I went to see him in 1981 at Wembley Arena. So I don't have that night, but I have one of the nights of that tour, the Wembley Arena, the 5 nights he did at Wembley Arena, which is really cool. It's a really good way of kind of, I think, supplying the fans with a lot of things that they like, but keeping control of it yourself.
So Simon, you're basically saying that Bruce Springsteen recorded like every live show.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that from other bands. Like rock bands so I mean, all these bands must have a huge vault of stuff could be released.
And I think from the late 70s they filmed stuff as well. So there's film with Springsteen doing Born to Run and things like that. They released that with Born to Run, and so I would guess that Van Halen has probably pretty much all the concerts they've ever played. I'm sure
Well,
they're
I know
recorded
that,
onto multi-tracks.
like I know Andrew likes the Diver Down stuff. There's a venue in Maryland, like near Washington, D.C. It's called Largo, Maryland. That venue, they record every concert that's played there, like video. Whether like Van Halen, you can go on YouTube and watch them live in Largo, Maryland. Like any band that went through that town, there's a live video recording of from Largo, Maryland. So certain venues do that. Yeah, but that's interesting. So Simon, I wanted to ask you. So for Bruce Springsteen, is there a certain album you recommend someone listens to, or a certain live concert available that someone?
If I was going to say album, very difficult. I'd probably start with Born to Run. Myself, if you're introducing yourself to Bruce, I'd probably start with Born to Run.
So what
Maybe
year?
Born in the USA, but at 75, Born to Run.
Really? Huh.
So yeah. So modern. But I mean, as for concerts, probably something from the Darkness on the Edge of Tour Town. So I don't know, Passaic, New Jersey, somewhere like that.
What year is
quite
that?
famous. That's 78.
78.
So
okay.
yeah, they're kind of strap yourselves in, 3 CDs, 3.5 hours.
So Simon, for you, this whole Bruce Springsteen thing, is there a particular song or a couple songs that stand out for you as why you listened to him or sparked it? Where does he go?
Sorry, I'm going into the. Sorry, but we shouldn't do this. Let's see. That's the latest Bruce Springsteen record. Sorry, no, I'm just going to show you a couple because
yeah, I saw that today at the record store I was at.
Lost him.
Well, he's been running around his place with his camera. You don't do that. Oh, he's going to show up over here now. There it is.
Yeah, I'm coming back now. I just got a couple just there. Sorry, you moved to a different room. The Wi-Fi gets a bit dodgy, but come on, come back. All is forgiven.
You probably have to do it.
Look at that.
Just go out and come back in.
Yes. Yeah, there we are. Right. So, see, what's brilliant about living in the UK in Europe is that you get these. You see, so these are radio broadcasts. Yeah,
right.
It's just near Agora Ballroom. But because they were broadcast on the radio, they can put them out legitimately as CDs, live CDs. So I don't know you can do it in America, but here they are. They're legitimate. So I've got this one. This is from 78. This one as well. This is from the Roxy Theatre in 78. Similar. July the 7th, the day before my 20th birthday.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. But that's one of. So you can buy these on Amazon. I bought these on Amazon. They're available on Amazon. Legitimately as a things because they've been broadcast. There's kind of European rules that if they've been broadcast on European radio, that you can release them. So they're available.
So Simon, would you have a favorite Bruce Springsteen song? Is there one song that stands?
I think my favorite Bruce Springsteen is Thunder Road. Thunder Road is probably my the final 2 loans. This is a town full of losers, and I'm pulling out of here to win. Gets me every time.
What album is that from?
That's from Born to Run.
1975.
It's the first track on Born to Run. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
If I was gonna, it just for those 2 lines alone that kind of sum up that whole kind of youth. I'm 20 years old. I'm alive. And I've been brought up in this small town, and I'm pulling out of here to win.
Right. That's like me, Cabo. That's like me, Cabo Wabo. Go there once, be there twice. Well, how about go there once, be there 20 times?
Absolutely. See.
I've got something to show you guys.
Oh wow!
Look at this.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah, look at that. Signed as well. Wow.
So you got that signed in person, Brad?
Yep. And got first one personalized as well.
Wow. So you're telling me you actually met Eddie Van Halen?
Yep.
Good for you.
Yeah,
A step ahead of me, man.
they came out to Australia in '98 on this tour.
Yeah, I have that concert.
And that concert that you see on YouTube is the one I'm at.
Yeah.
Obviously, it went a lot longer than 1 hour. Had an eruption in it. He did a big solo in it. Alex did a big solo as well. They cut all that out for the broadcast for some reason. But what happened is there was a contest to go at HMV Records to go get your albums, pick it up and get it signed. So I knew a girl that worked at HMV Records, and she got me in there to get this signed. And then when we finished up, she said, "Oh, just come around the back," because they leave through the back way into the alleyway into a Tarago van at the time. And of course, being a big fan, I said yes. And I collared them back, and I said, "Guys, I started talking to them about one of my friends' bands, Baby Animals, that supported them on the FUCK tour." And then I got talking to Eddie, and I must have only been for a few minutes, maybe 10 minutes max, but got in depth talking to him about that band, and it just really, him and Michael Anthony gave me a lot of time. Gary was a little bit funny, and Alex was just like, "I want to get the hell out of here." So
that's fantastic, Brad. Well, that's brilliant.
But yeah, I spoke to him. I mean, I can't remember word for word because it was '98. It's a long time ago now. But I just remember I was on a high from that, and I remember Eddie being such a really lovely guy. He was just really humble, and gave me a hug like when I was saying goodbye and stuff like that. Just went, "See you, man. Take care," and whatever he said. But I just remember that specifically being a big moment for me. I was like, wow, man, these guys are massive rock stars and they're just down to earth. So that was a big moment. Yeah, I was quite one of the lucky few that actually got to meet him away from him. So yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned fantastic. I mentioned to all the guys that had actually met him, like full condolences to you guys, because that's something I had always wished for, and that's got to be tough for everybody that's actually met the guy. Yeah, and Brad got to hug the guy that played his #1 song, "Mean Street."
Yeah. He was really, really nice. He was talking to me about my friend and their band, and he was talking to me. And he was like, "What are you doing musically?" I just told him I was playing guitar, and and I remember just because I was trying to get them out of the van, like out into the van to go to the venue for sound check, because the signing was before the sound check. So they came to the signing, then they went to the sound check, and then obviously they played their gig. So I was just very fortunate. And looking back at it now, I'm really grateful that I got that, and I got that song.
Sure.
So
that's brilliant.
My biggest bit of memorabilia from Van Halen.
And meeting them as well, that's just brilliant. Yeah.
Surprised it's not like laminated under glass or something.
I've had that safely bunkered down until he passed away, and then I went through and dug it out just to I pulled it all out. Just
thanks for sharing that story, Brad. That's awesome. Yeah.
That's really cool. It's nice to meet your heroes, and they kind of live up to it, to it, isn't it?
I can't remember word for word what he said, but he was just really, really nice, really, really humble, really nice person, and you could tell he loved the music that he was doing. He just loved it, so that was his thing. So, and the people I know that have met him and spoken to him and spent time with him said that he was just a lovely guy. So
I think I've certainly got that impression over the last 2 weeks. People who've met him, that's what they say about him. That actually the rock star thing is thing, but actually, he's quite a humble guy who happens to be a wizard guitar player, and it kind of, in a sense, that's when he comes alive. But actually, yeah, off stage, like, quite humble, quite not that kind of in your face, yeah, real person, which is cool.
So Simon, I know you're a bit of a vinyl collector. Is that correct?
I am. that letter to you, Bruce Springsteen record, is on vinyl. Could I just say, right. Released yesterday?
Simon. So a thing I've been doing the last couple of years, I've been collecting vinyl again, just because CDs, like small packaging, and I like the vinyl, how big everything is, and the sort of classic look. So. I don't know. Do you have this one, Simon? This is Pink Floyd live at Pompeii. This is it's called Vern Records. So anyway, this was a big one of my moments for David Gilmour was seeing. I have the DVD of Live at Pompeii and in the amphitheater. So I couldn't believe it. I was looking at albums, and all of a sudden I typed in Pink Floyd, and bang! This is like one of my favorite. Parts of the movie, actually. So it was cool.
It's a great movie, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, especially when they're playing the song Echoes, if anybody knows. That's from the Metal album. That's before, like Simon was talking about stuff before Dark Side of the Moon. So that's the album before Dark Side of the Moon. I love the playing of the song Echoes when they get into the amphitheater here. So I don't know if you ever heard of Vern. It's called Vern Records, VERNE. This is probably a bootleg or something. I
was going to say, I don't think that it's Live at Pompeii was ever released as an album. It's released as a film. Obviously, you get it as a DVD, but not just as an album. I don't think, not officially anyway. So
I guess it would be considered a counterfeit then. It's just somebody has said. Yeah, we're going to press an album and put a cool cover on it. So it's like a counterfeit. Because a bootleg to me is like, okay, a live concert, someone's recorded it, puts it on vinyl. That's a bootleg, So it'd be counterfeit.
Although, I mean, the first bootleg was, of course, The Great White Wonder, which is Bob Dylan doing the Basement Tape stuff. And that all got released as a bootleg. So that wasn't live. That was just in the studio mucking about. But so I think a bootleg could be a bootleg comfortably. I think is a thing. I've just said. Do you want to? This is the most. I have the most tenuous link to Pink Floyd in the world ever. Right? You ready for this? So I fell into and nearly drowned in Nick Mason's father's swimming pool.
What?
Nick Mason's mum and dad had a house that had a swimming pool, and my dad knew Bill Mason. He's called Bill Mason because they worked in films together. And so we went to stay there once on our way to France, and they had a swimming pool with a diving board and the diving board was on hooked underneath this sort of rollers, and I went and stood on the diving board, and it gently rolled out, and I fell into the swimming pool. I nearly drowned in Nick Mason's mum and dad's swimming pool, which is tenuous. That is tenuous, isn't it? That's a link.
Simon, you said you were going to France. What were you going to France for?
Oh, for a holiday.
Oh, so where do you go?
I was probably 8 years old or something.
Where did your family? Did you go to the Mediterranean? Like the coast?
No, we went to the Dordogne because some friends of my mum and dad had a house there in the Dordogne, so we were going there for holidays. So we were driving down to the Dordogne.
So whereabouts is that?
It's sort of southwest France, the Dordogne. Oh, okay. So Bordeaux way.
Yeah, I've been to Caen. I've been to Caen, France, a couple of times in my life. I like it there.
Yeah. Oh, France is a great thing.
Well, just the Riviera, because I have to be around the ocean, right? Because here in the southern tip of the
ocean,
I've got 3 sides of me is ocean.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Although, yes, whether the Mediterranean's an ocean or a sea, we can argue about it.
We'll call it a sea. Yeah.
But, isn't it a lake?
So, yeah, I actually, Nick Mason's a great car collector.
Really?
Yeah, he is. He's got Ferrari. He's got very rare Ferraris, and he's got a car company that basically they hire out cars to films and stuff. So he is a film. But the reason he got it is because his dad had this supercharged 1930s racing Bentley. One of those great sort of square things with the wheels. It's great, 8-liter supercharged. And I remember us going in this bloody huge Bentley. It was fantastic. So obviously, I presume Nick Mason still got it amongst a lot of his car collection that he has. Yeah, I like that. That's funny.
Yeah, Simon, someone in the chat's asking, do you actually speak French? Did you go to that place in France a lot? Or?
Un petit peu.
There you go.
It's the answer to that. A little. I did. Sorry, this is digressing away for a bit. But
doesn't matter.
When I was in my late teens, we used to go and do the grape harvest. In France, we used to go Le Vendage, as it's called. So we go and stay on a French chateau for 6 weeks. Pick grapes, drink wine, muck about. And then spend the next 6 weeks when we buy an Interrail card, which is like a railway ticket that you could go all around Europe on.
All right.
Unlimited travel for a month. So we go and work on the grape harvest for 6 weeks, 2 months, and then we spend a month going around Europe on the train, which is fantastic. Spending all the money we'd earned to, going to beaches in Greece or Italy, but also doing all the sort of cultural things. So, going to the ancient, like going to Delphi to see the oracle at Delphi in Greece, and going to Rome, going to St. Peter's and seeing all the Rome stuff, the Colosseum, and just going around and looking at, seeing stuff. Going to Florence, going to the Uffizi to see, Italian Renaissance art. And all those things, we had a fantastic, fantastic late teenage life.
Is there a place in Europe that you haven't been, Simon, that's sort of on your list to go to?
I've been to lots. I've been to a lot of countries. I've been to Amsterdam. Man.
Sorry. That's my favourite. Yeah, I'd like to go to. Where the Van Halens from? Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
Wham bam.
Man.
Oh, Amsterdam.
Yeah. Yes, Kubrick lover. I've been to the Louvre several times. But I've never been to Petra and Gordon, Tom. I absolutely like to go a bit further afield. Egypt as well. I like to go and see the pyramids in Egypt. Have you been to the pyramids, Steve? You're you're well travelled, aren't you?
I've been to Morocco. That was my first and only time in Africa was Morocco, and then went up into the Mediterranean. So I haven't. I have a friend that's from South Africa, and definitely interested. And I'd love to see. I will go to the pyramids at some point in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. When this bloody war is over, we will.
So if I go anywhere and leave Canada and come back, I have to stay quarantine for 14 days, 2 weeks.
Yeah. Johnny B's asking me if I've been to Ibiza. I've been to Ibiza. I was in Ibiza, Johnny, when 9/11 happened. Interesting. We were on holiday in Ibiza and went into this cafe to have breakfast, and it was on the TV in the cafe. 9/11. Wow. So yes, I've been to Ibiza and Minorca. I'm old. Europe is on the doorstep. One of the great sadnesses stories we've got to
for all three of you, like Andrew's in New Zealand, Simon's in the UK, and we've got a representative from Australia. Do you guys?
That's in Australia.
What's your guys' rules, the three of you, for if you're to leave the country and come back? Are you guys in a quarantine situation?
2 week quarantine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we can leave the country at the moment.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because I have a friend, he's a saxophone player, and he lives in Australia, and he says he can't even leave the province that he lives in.
And he can't leave, lifting restrictions at the moment here in Victoria, like in Melbourne, Victoria. They're lifting restrictions now. We're down to 2 cases a day or something like that now. So our rolling average is under 5 now a day. So I don't think we've had any deaths in the last, I don't think last night there was any death. I'm not 100% sure of that, the stats, but we've got a lot of restrictions coming, hopefully as of tomorrow. But I believe our restrictions are up to 25 kilometre radius now. We're allowed to venture from home.
Right.
And, but we've been under really tight lockdown for a long time.
Yeah. So if you guys go to a mall, do you have to wear a mask?
We've got a rule where you can't leave the house without a mask.
Wow.
But you can't go to malls though. Your malls are closed. Is that correct?
At the moment.
Wow.
Yeah. All the shopping centres, everything is shut basically. The only thing that are open are supermarkets, chemists, and like service stations, and nothing else is open really. Post office.
How long has that been for?
I think there was a 4-week lockdown, then we got 2 weeks of freedom, and there was a spike because there was one reason or another, which I'm not going to bore you all with, but
Okay.
then they locked us down for another 6 weeks, and then that stretched out to 8, and then it stretched out. So it's been since April, end of April. I think I've had 2 weeks of freedom, and I've been locked down the rest of the time. So,
Oh my God, we had 4 weeks in April, 4 weeks, and that drove me crazy.
yeah, the gist of it was everyone here in Victoria is gone a bit stir crazy because we're still locked down officially, can't do anything properly. So yeah, we've got 25k radius that we can go out, but nothing's open. So
yeah,
Awesome.
We're still at relative. We're on sort of level 2, so we're still relatively okay. Although, I mean, as I've said on here, I'm a civil servant, and we have an office in London. That I heard yesterday. I heard that obviously it's COVID compliant and people are supposed to distance, and somebody had obviously gone in and 5 people had got COVID and 6 more were suspected of it. So even in one office that was actually organised, to socially distance and all of that, and one-way systems, and that managed to possibly infect at least 5 people and possibly 6 more.
Mm.
That's how pernicious it is getting around. But I'm really lucky. I live in the country, so it's it's I live on the edge of a village, so I can go out without seeing anybody much, and I can confine myself to a weekly food shop and things without really going to too many shops and getting involved with too many other people. So I'm very lucky, very lucky.
Awesome. Well, look, guys, we've been on the air for 3 hours, and I've had 3 hours of fun and entertainment. And
Wait a minute, I've only been here an hour and a half.
And we've had a couple of laughs, and that's always great. So I didn't mention to you guys that we were streaming on 3 platforms: YouTube, Facebook on the All Things Eric Clapton group, and also on the Van Halen with Sammy Hagar group. So if you guys haven't already subscribed to our channel, please do, because Simon and I would love to have your support. And if you haven't checked out Brad's web address here, brad-cook.com, check Brad out. He's going to be a regular with Simon and I. So we look forward to catching up with Brad more often. And I think, Steve, you mentioned in a chat that you might be keen in doing something fortnightly. So if that option's still available, we'll take you up on that, and we can talk about music, guitars, and gears, and albums, and things like that. And of course, if anybody who is in the chat wants to jump on at any stage in the future with Simon and I and Brad and the Rummeister, just drop us a line, because we're all in it to tell a story and hang out, and that's what it's about. Look, guys, I appreciate the fact that you've given me some ideas and some thoughts on Eddie Van Halen. Simon, before you jumped on, I mentioned to the guys that it kind of hit me a couple of days ago that Eddie Van Halen is my Jimi Hendrix, my generation's Jimi Hendrix. It took a while for me to sort of work that out.
Yeah.
But kind of, yeah. I don't know what to say other than that. Yeah.
It's well, no, and I think probably he's the last one, isn't it? You're the generation that can say that kind of guitar hero, that kind of innovative guitar hero person is a hero to you. You know, if you go 10 years later, who would you go? So you wouldn't go Kurt Cobain as the great guitar hero, would you? It's a different thing, cultural icon easily, but not a guitar hero in the same way. So I think after that, he's like is he the last one? Can you give anybody more recently than that?
No, he's the last
a kind
one.
of generation's Jimi Hendrix. I can't think of anybody more recently than that who I think is that generation's Jimi Hendrix. Myself.
Well, we've done a couple of shows, and I'm being respectful when I say this, guys. And Clapton and Jeff Beck and Keith Richards and Mick Jagger, and Paul McCartney. These guys are getting old now, and when they pass, that's the end of rock and roll, and that we know of.
Yeah.
I think game changer wise on guitar was Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen are the only two that I can really think of. Like game changer, Hendrix came out, took things to a new level. I mean, a lot of great guitarists spawned from that. And then the next person that came along that really made the same sort of impact was Eddie Van Halen, but Eddie had a longer career and obviously wrote a lot more music, and we're blessed with, all that lives on. We can actually still experience all that like we do with Hendrix, but I personally can't think of anyone who's come along since Eddie Van Halen that's changed the face of rock music and guitar playing like he has. That's just me anyway. I mean, there's a lot of great guitarists that have come. Don't get me wrong, but I just think,
for sure.
It.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
we've got to look back retrospectively now and live in a sense where, we were alive during this period where Eddie Van Halen was relevant. So that's a big thing. I mean, we should be grateful for that at least, Look,
I think you're right, mate. The fact that we were out when these albums were released, and we were listening to them, kind of freaks me out a little bit, because Simon and I, we'll talk about the Beano album, which came out 50 years ago, or Disraeli Gears, and that we didn't buy when that album came out. So we're talking about it historically, and also from a point of view from when we heard the album. But to be actually around when these albums hit, Steve, to be there when your friends are listening to similar kind of music that you are at the time, it's like, wow. Wow. That's all I can say. I'm sorry.
No, we used to, I have beaches all around me, 3 sides. I had OU812, I'm not kidding. I had to buy the cassette 5 times because so many times we'd be at a beach and like the sand would get into the stereo, your ghetto blaster, your Walkman. And I had to buy OU812 5.
Before
got one without the sand damage. Yes, nice.
That's right.
Steve, you're not supposed to take the tape deck under the boardwalk. You're only supposed to take a rug.
No, I'm not joking. I bought that thing 5 times.
A rug and a cassette player.
Yeah. All right.
Dear me, honestly. Well, thanks, guys. It's been really good fun. Thanks ever so much. Thanks everyone in the chat.
We're not going to be doing a show tomorrow. I'm going fishing, guys. So,
can you put up a sign? Gone fishing.
What are you fishing for?
I'm the world's worst
Monday.
fisherman. I can't fish. I just stand there and bait the hooks for my mates and open beers for them. I don't drink, so I'm the beer opener and the driver. You know, I'm the sober driver.
The only thing catches is a cold.
Yeah. No, I'm the sober driver. And when they're in the back of the van and they give me shit, I go around the corners really fast and put the brakes on so they all roll around them. You know, I can be a bastard too.
I was getting at this specifically, though. What are you actually fishing for when you drop the hook? What are you trying to catch?
Oh, snapper.
Okay.
Snapper and kawai. Yeah. Real fish. Come on. Well, you know, yeah. Snapper. Red snapper. Yeah.
So do you guys
nice.
do you guys drop like crab traps or prawn traps just in case you get cut out from getting the fish? Yeah. Nice.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yes. Have a fish on me. Yes.
That's what we do here.
Well, have a fish on me. Well, have a fish on me.
Careful, we'll get dinged for it. Look at the trouble that's got us into.
Yeah, right.
So Brad's got me for the vocalist for his AC/DC tribute band. Oh, right.
Are you doing Bon or Brian? See, now we're into that. Are you doing Bon or Brian? You know, because you got one or the other.
Oh, mate, I'm sorry. It's Brian for me.
Oh, ooh, look at that.
Yeah. Back in Black, masterpiece. That album. It's a little bit like Van Halen for a lot of guys. You know, I was listening to that album, and went backwards.
Yep.
Yeah, I borrowed it on. I think I must have borrowed it on cassette actually from the guitarist in the band in about 2000 or something. And I remember putting it on in the car. You know, having not really paid attention, as usual, story of my life, paying attention to something else. Yeah, and then putting it on in the car, thinking, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, just the kind of that thing that they have. You know, being a sort of primarily rhythm guitarist myself, you know, you recognise rhythm guitar playing when you hear it. You know, and and always coming in on the and. They always come in on the three and, don't they? Well, that one.
Last question before we go.
How does that work?
Anyone getting a Van Halen tattoo?
No.
I'm not getting any tattoos. Like, I'm 62 years old, no tattoos. I'm a wimp. The first order.
Yeah.
Brad?
Anything to do with someone piercing my skin that hurts me? Not happening. But Brad has tattoos, so I'm interested.
Oh, Brad, see, brave man. Look at that.
Like a whole, half an hour covered.
I don't think I'm going to get. I've never really thought about getting a musician tattooed to me. Not that there's a bad thing, but tattoos. I get. Well, the work I've got done is meaningful in a different way, not necessarily a musical way. But I wouldn't necessarily go and get a tattoo. No, not that. You know, necessarily.
One of the other things I did was right away I went to some website and looking at Van Halen shirts, and they got Eddie Van Halen 1955 to 2020, but they had one of Snoopy with a couple cans of paint, and he's painting the VH logo with the rings. That's what I ordered.
That's you,
awesome.
Steve, isn't it? That's you, yes.
Oh yeah, I'm good with that.
Awesome. Did they get the cans colour right? Were they the correct Schwinn cans?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. The logo's like gold, and it's got red and yellow in the back, so it shows
brilliant.
A can of red paint, a can of yellow. It's Snoopy with a little roller.
Oh, cool. Yeah. That
awesome.
Sounds good.
So before we go, no show tomorrow. So Steve said that he's going to, yay! Put your guys' hands together. Steve's going to come back on and do a fortnightly show with us. That'll be awesome.
51 Fridays.
51 50 Fridays.
Yeah.
All right, okay, awesome. And So Brad's either going to be on those or on Sundays with Simon and I because he's such a cool guy. So you can pick Brad. You can come on all of them.
I'll take over the show, Andrew.
You can pick, mate, or you can ditch us when you start gigging. I understand.
Or you
I
can
understand
pretend you've got a
busy.
life, Brad, and something else.
Yeah.
We did the top 10. I'm going to need 11 to 20.
Honourable mentions, Steve.
Yeah.
Next time, honourable mentions.
Well, do you want to give us some homework now, Steve? For a fortnight, is there something on the top of your mind that you want us to do for the next show? Is there something you want to do a shout out now?
I could almost give it to you now because I had my list and a B list and a C list.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just comparing both your lists, and like you both had "Girl Gone Bad" on it. So yeah, I'm going to be listening to that for sure.
So what's the list? What's the next show? What are we doing?
11 to what'd you say you were going to do?
A theme for the next show.
Yeah. What's the theme for the next show, guys?
That's all right. Anything you like. We don't have to think of it now, do we?
No. But when we do, guys, we'll put out some alerts there, and we appreciate you hanging out. Hey, Deja Voodoo, the party's over. We're going Deja Voodoo. But we've
been
back.
round twice, especially for Quentin.
Okay, guys.
Yeah. Take care, guys. Stay safe. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye. Ting. It's probably a